This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Coming to the 8th hole, Byron has opened up 3. California Club on the inside is giving his best, but he's dropping back. On the outside, Capricorn is taken second. It's Byron pulling away. They're coming down to the finish, and it will be Byron impressive on the front end today.
It is Plum Alley holding on to the lead, getting clear by 3. On the outside, Runaway Rumor along with Invincible Gal. White Frost is down at the rail. They're coming for the finish, and it is Plum Alley with a front-running score in the Winter Memories.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Songbird comes off the turn, and the champ has taken command. At the 8th hole, Songbird begins to stride away. Karina be a second. Catherine Sophia laboring back in third. Here she is, folks. Just a magnificent blend of grace and power as she comes to the finish. Songbird, a picture of perfection.
Musical Romance hits the front. Nicole H. quickly on the attack. Nicole H. Musical Romance. These two down to the line in the Princess Rooney. Musical Romance would not be denied in 2012.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Good morning once again, everyone. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, welcoming you to the Equine Forum, all presented by TwinSpires, and all right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. This, of course, the show that launched a network, this entire network, starting with the Equine Forum program, and I'm happy to have you back in the saddle with me for the next 3 hours on Sirius 162, XM 207, our affiliates in Lexington, Louisville, and across the country, streaming worldwide and podcast on our website, horseracingradio.net, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Well, I think we can all agree that there is certainly no shortage of good racing this weekend. And I know there is good racing at other venues, but Bensalem, Pennsylvania, and Hallandale Beach, Florida, are going to serve as the epicenter of the racing world on this 20th day of September 2025. At least in terms of stakes races offering the highest purses or an opportunity to punch your ticket to the Breeders' Cup, which is fast approaching. Parks, by the way, has 7 stakes races, highlighted by the Grade 1 Cotillion for 3-year-old fillies and the Grade 1 Pennsylvania Derby for the 3-year-old boys. Gulfstream will play host to the Grade 3 Princess Rooney, which is a win in your end for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint division. And before you go looking at that race and saying, well, it's a Grade 3, let's not pay much attention to the horses coming out of that race, keep in mind that that's the race that provided us with last year's Filly and Mare Sprint winner, Soul of an Angel, owned in partnership, including a partnership group that included Mark and Clint Cornett's C2 Racing Stable, and trained, by the way, by Saffie Joseph Jr. They are represented once again, hoping lightning can strike twice again here in 2025. They're represented in today's renewal by Holland Ice and Mystic Lake. Very talented. Don't know if they're up to the level of a Soul of an Angel, but they're both very talented, and on their day, they're going to be a tough out. Today is probably one of those days. They look like they're going to be tough to beat in that spot this afternoon. Will they perform the way that they hope they will, and will they proceed on to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint? That's the question that needs to be answered at Gulfstream. I'm also going to get an update when Mark Cornett joins me. He's going to be here with us, by the way, at 9 o'clock Eastern. I'll get an update on 2023 Breeders' Cup Classic winner White Barrio, who it was announced this week is going to be pointed for the Dirt Mile, not the Classic this year. He'll go in the Dirt Mile. So we'll talk to Mark about his beautiful white horse, White Barrio. And, of course, that Princess Rooney. My poll question this morning surrounds the big races at Parks, the Grade 1 Cotillion, the Grade 1 Pennsylvania Derby. Which of those races offers the more intriguing matchups? Is it the Cotillion, where you have Good Cheer, Cara, and Scottish Lassie? Those are the big 3 in there. Or is it the Pennsylvania Derby, where you have Baeza and Gosger and Magnitude? Which one do you think provides the more intriguing matchup? I'm not asking you which of those races is going to prove to have the biggest impact on their respective divisions later this season. But just today, which one is the more intriguing matchup? And if you want to look at the Pennsylvania Derby, I mentioned those three, but if you want to throw in goal-oriented for Bob Baffert, I think he deserves to be in the mix there. But for me, I think as good as that race is, and it has shaped up to be pretty strong, and I think pretty wide open, I think the Cotillion gets the edge as the more intriguing matchup because of the fact that a horse like Cara, a horse like Scottish Lassie, and even Good Cheer, who was unbeatable for the first, 7 starts of her career? Any of those three could conceivably walk away with the 3-year-old filly championship this year. They still have a shot. Whereas on the other side of things, in the Pennsylvania Derby, the 3-year-old male title, that horse is in the barn. That's been wrapped up. That's been decided. That's going to sovereignty. And again, not asking you to weigh in on which of these races will have the bigger impact in their division, but which one's the more intriguing matchup today? So for me, it's the Cotillion. Because there's a lot on the line. If Cara can find a way to get the victory under Jockey Dylan Davis today for trainer Mark Cassidy, which, by the way, Dylan Davis is going to be with me in a few minutes. He'll be here right around 8:15 Eastern Time. On her day, Cara is as good as anybody. Is today that day? She has plenty of early speed. We know that. That's her game. That's when she's at her best. Yes, I know. You can say, wait, but she won last year's Pocahontas, and she did it from off the pace that day. That's the only time in her career that she's won when she's been off the pace, not on the lead. But if she can find a way to win this Grade 1 $1 million race, that's going to give her 3 Grade 1 wins this year. Good Cheer holds the edge over Cara in the head-to-head matchups. Remember, Good Cheer was so brilliant when she won the Kentucky Oaks. Cara, that wasn't her day. She ends up fading to 9th that afternoon. So Good Cheer has the edge. Cara can turn the tables, and that would give her, again, 3 Grade 1 wins if she can do it. Puts her in the driver's seat. Certainly in the conversation. How about Scottish Lassie? She's the one on the outside looking in if you're looking at a 3-year-old filly championship. She's trying to get there. But she's been beaten by Cara in the Acorn. She finished 3rd that day. Her last win was dominant. She wins by 15 lengths, goes wire to wire against a 4-horse field in the Coaching Club American Oaks. How do you judge that performance? She's 9-5 on the morning line. Cara 7-2. So the morning line odds makers at Parks thinking Scottish Lassie has the better opportunity to pull off the victory here today. I think that race offers a lot of intrigue. And then there's Good Cheer. Good Cheer looked to all of us like she was going to just waltz through this division this year until she got to Saratoga. She gets smoked by Cara in the Acorn over that funky racetrack. Remember that funky racetrack? Sloppy. A lot of horses didn't handle it that day. And you said, okay, no problem. She'll be back. She returns in the Alabama. I think she ran her race that day, but she just wasn't good enough to beat Nitrogen. Now, Nitrogen, not here in this spot this afternoon, but another 3-year-old filly that has an opportunity to stake a claim to this title. So this is a wide-open division. There is a lot on the line here today. That Cotillion is going to be sensational. And again, Dylan Davis set to join me in just about 5 or 6 minutes from right now. I think you're going to enjoy that conversation. So the poll question, which race at Parks this afternoon, the Cotillion or the Pennsylvania Derby, offers the more intriguing matchups? The Cotillion or the Pennsylvania Derby. You can go to @HRRN on X to cast your vote. You can do that too. Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. Or if you don't do social media, I tell you all the time, I get it. Email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. I'll pass along those results and those votes later in the show. Lee Searing of CRK Stable will also be with me here this morning, right around 8:35 Eastern Time. He's had a lot of good horses. Baeza is right up there with some of the best. He's looking to break through and get that Grade 1 win on his resume later today in the Pennsylvania Derby. Looking forward to the conversation with Lee. Brendan Walsh is the trainer of 2 horses in the Pennsylvania Derby. Gosger, David of Athens. Brendan will be here at 9:40. We'll also talk about Kilroy, the Indiana Oaks winner, going in the Cotillion Stakes this afternoon for Brendan. And before I get to that point, I'm going to tell you the tremendous story, it's outstanding, of Gosger's namesake, 82-year-old Jim Gosger, a former Major League Baseball player who has an incredible story of his own, including being the last person ever to bat against the legendary pitcher Satchel Paige. It's awesome. It was a story written by Tim Wilkin. Tim had a conversation with Jim Gosger. There's some fantastic quotes in the story. After I tell you that story, Tim is going to join me to talk about Jim. So you'll hear from Tim Wilkin here this morning, and he'll tell you what that conversation was like. There's one thing that really sticks in Jim Gosger's craw, even to this day. It rubs him the wrong way. And Tim will tell you all about that coming up right around 9:20 Eastern Time. So here's the whole lineup for you this morning. I know I jumped around a little bit there in the opening segment, but here is the full lineup and what's coming up here on today's Equine Forum. It all kicks off shortly with Jockey Dylan Davis. Always fun to catch up with Dylan. Lee Searing of CRK Stable talking about Baeza right around 8:35, 9 o'clock Eastern. I go down the road to the Breeders' Cup with Mark Cornett of C2 Racing Stable. Tim Wilkin at 9:20-ish, 9:25. Brendan Walsh at 9:40. 10 o'clock Eastern begins hour number 3. Kevin Kilroy will have the TwinSpires triple play, 3 races for you to watch and wager on later today with TwinSpires. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. It's the first of a 2-part story series on the brilliant Mom's Command. Part 1 this week, Part 2 next week. And then at 10:30 Eastern, I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans, with Tim Wilkin. We'll talk about some of the hottest topics in the sport today. And I'm going to ask them the same question I'm asking you as our poll question. Which of the Grade 1 races at Parks offers the more intriguing match this afternoon? We'll see what they have to say about that toward the end of the show. Time now to check in with our producer, Lee Delapina, and see what he's come up with for you this week with the impossible trivia question. Lee?
All right, thanks, Mike. Here's one that's not too impossible. I mean, you might be able to guess it. How much did Secretariat's heart weigh? And to give you a hint, your heart, the human heart, weighs approximately a half pound. So how much did Secretariat's heart weigh? No Googling. We'll give out the answer at the end of the show.
I love it. He always comes up with these fantastic questions. And that one, yeah, again, no Googling. That's going to be a good one. The answer coming up right around 10:55 Eastern in the final segment before we wrap things up for you here this morning. Dylan Davis coming up next. Stay with me. It's the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The September meet at Churchill Downs is off and running with live racing Wednesday through Sunday, now through September 28th. A total of 11 stakes will be contested across the September meet, featuring the $500,000 Lucas Classic, the $400,000 Locust Grove, and the kickoff to the Road to the Kentucky Derby and Oaks with the $300,000 Iroquois and $300,000 Pocahontas. The September meet will run Wednesday through Sunday. First post is 12:45 p.m. most days, with a special 5 p.m. first post each Thursday for Twilight Thursday. Horse players will have plenty of opportunities to score at the meet with a new $3 late pick 3 with a low 15% takeout rate. For more information about the September meet, visit churchilldowns.com and follow Churchill Downs on all social media platforms.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
And in the clear, 2-out Hero. And down the outside, Wild Desert's coming from a mile back. Out in front is Casson. And now coming is 2-out Hero. And Wild Desert is out there on the extreme outside with Argos. Argos, Wild Desert, and 2-out Hero. It's Argos in front. And Argos has just won.
That's Argos, the son of Darley Stallion Nyquist, flying through the stretch to take the Grade 1 Summer Stakes at Woodbine last weekend. A victory which punches his ticket to the Breeders' Cup and makes him your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Darley Stallion Nyquist. Argos becomes the 10th Grade 1 winner sired by Nyquist with that win in the Grade 1 Summer. He also is the 9th Grade 1 performer for his sire in 2025. No other stallion has as many. Learn about Nyquist and all the Darley Stallions by visiting darleyamerica.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Cara turns for home through 3/4 in 1:10-3. She's running a giant race and has a 3-length advantage coming to the furlong pole. Scottish Lassie is closing in the center of the track and Look Forward running a good race. Good Cheer is well beaten this afternoon. It's La Cara with a 4-length lead close to home. Dylan Davis and La Cara all the way in the DK horse Acorn. A 3.5-length win. Look Forward ran a big race in defeat. Scottish Lassie was third, and Bless the Broken finished fourth.
And that's the way you do it. The Grade 1 Acorn going to La Cara 2 starts ago. That was on June 6th at Saratoga. Frank Miramati had the call. Dylan Davis, as you heard, was aboard La Cara for the victory that day. He's been aboard the past several starts, and he continues to build upon what was a magical year for him in 2024. He's already won 6 stakes races, 6 graded stakes races here in 2025, and he looks to add to that total aboard La Cara again later today in the Grade 1 Cotillion. 5:15 Eastern is the post. It's race number 13 on the program at Parks, and Dylan is with me right now here on HRRN. Dylan, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Mike, for having me.
Yeah, let me tell you, that Acorn was so impressive. I know it was a sloppy track, and people will point to that and say, well, she just skipped over the slop. But she wins that race by 3. The Alabama, not so much. She ends up finishing 4th that afternoon. What went right in the Acorn? What went wrong in the Alabama?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, what happened was she had to miss the coaching club because another horse in the barn of Makers had potentially had a virus where it made her scratch the morning of, and she missed her routine schedule of once a month, and I think that really hurt her going into the Alabama because of her training schedule and everything. So I think that's what you see there, and then also I don't think that the 1.25 is a good distance for her. I think shorter is a little bit better. What we're going to get today in the Cotillion, I think that's a better distance, yeah.
When she's on her game, she's I will use the word unbeatable. She's almost unbeatable because she has that speed. You know, there's that saying that says speed kills, right? Well, she has it in abundance, and once she gets to the front, she's a tough out for any other horse that's going to try and run her down. Did you feel something different under you in the Alabama than you did in the Acorn?
I definitely did. I knew right away when I hit the backside there at the 6 furlong, she wasn't taking me as easily, or the will wasn't there to, for her to continue on. So I thought I was in a little bit of trouble there going into the second turn, and with nitrogen breathing on my my neck, I knew we were in trouble.
That's a wonderful point, Dylan. What does it feel like when you're aboard Cara and she's on her A game? How do you describe it?
Yeah, it's a really good feeling because ridden her repetitively. I know that when she's on it, but it's tough to say. I only know that when I hit the backside where she wants to get going, she pulls me more, and if she doesn't, then she's not wanting to do it that day. So it's hard to tell before the race, but during the race, if I could tell you then, place your bets, then then go ahead with that. But by then it's too late. But yeah, she really gives me the signs of if she's willing to do it or not. But overall, she's a nice filly, and I'm hoping she gives me that same feeling today. Is it unusual to have that type of scenario with a horse where you have to wait till you get to the backstretch to really get a sense of, okay, I'm sitting on something really live today? Is that a normal thing for a jockey, or is it a little unusual? No, it definitely is. It's normal because that's kind of gauging how much horse you have, how they're traveling, and with riding Cara, my first time riding her, she broke very sharply, and I just let her do what she wanted, and just getting to know her the first time, she was a great ride, and she was really happy. And as I ride her more often, I know her even better, so I know when she's on and off. But just comparing it to other rides and other races, horses will jump at certain poles or get going at certain times. So you have different styles, but you definitely like them jumping onto the bit down the backside for sure. She's not a filly that needs to take her racetrack with her. She's won at Saratoga, she's won at Churchill, she's won at Tampa, she's won at Keeneland. Mm-hmm. She'll race at Parks for the very first time later today. Is the Parks surface comparable to any of the ones I just mentioned? I don't think so. I think, because she's the class filly, she's traveled already, and I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. She's always accustomed to where she's at, and it doesn't really bother her. She's all game, and she stays focused on the race. Is that racetrack similar to Keeneland, similar to Tampa, similar to Churchill or Saratoga in any way? Well, speed was good. I've been watching this past week. The rail's been good, so we might find myself, on the lead or inside. But speed's been pretty well over there this past week, and I don't know if it's similar because every track has their own styles or tendencies, bias. But I think that speed will help her again, and we're just going to use that to our advantage. You talk about watching the races from Parks. You're riding, of course, in New York, but you're watching the races there in Pennsylvania. Is that part of your usual preparation when you get ready to go out of town to ride, especially in a Grade 1 $1 million race? Definitely. You just want to see how the track's playing. I talked to my agent, just picked up Ruben Silvera, and he's been riding at Parks, so I'm lucky enough to have him tell me about the track a little bit better with him being on there and give me a little insight. So, he's saying that the inside's been playing really well this past week or two, and it's probably going to play even better this weekend. So with the big races coming, they're going to have the track real ready and fast, and that's really it. And I'm just hoping that, Cara can handle it. It's going to be her first time over it, so with a lot of the other fillies as well. Let's talk about some of those other fillies and maybe some strategy and maybe a different look at the competition here. Scottish Lassie, 9-5 on the morning line. She's just here inside in post position number 1. Of course, Cara post 2. And then you have Good Cheer on the outside. And we know that she was really good until her last couple of starts and maybe a bit subpar for her. So size up the competition and walk through your game plan, if you will, Dylan. Yeah, so of course, we're going to break the best we can and try to establish a lead, but she's also won off the pace before. But we know that her style is front running, so we're going to come out running and do our thing, and hopefully, with some other horses, like some horses, Indy Bay, coming from sprints and, not too late. But, she likes to be on the front. So that's plan A, to come out running, clear Scottish Lassie, make sure that she has a tough trip from the inside and good cheer. Maybe she'll have a wide trip. So hopefully, we're there right at the wire.
Do you think she's quicker than Scottish Lassie early on?
I do. Yeah, I think she's faster, and I think that's going to be a big key point in the race right early on, the first couple jumps. If we're able to clear her right away and take control, I think that's going to be a real big part of this race.
How do you make sure you clear her early, get out to where you want to be, forwardly placed or maybe even in front, but not go too fast so she has something left at the end? How do you do it?
Yeah, no, that's a tricky situation. So you're just trying to do the best you can with clearing and making sure that Joelle can see that I want the lead and also running as best as I can into that first turn and showing that maybe he'll take a hold and we can take it. But it is a tough situation. Then we have to go to plan B if not, he outbreaks us, and you don't want to go into chase mode and go too quick and then ruin the race overall. So, but you have to have a couple plans going into that first turn.
You mentioned Joelle Rosario, who was aboard Scottish Lassie, again, breaking just to the inside of Cara. Then you have Irad Ortiz Jr. breaking to your outside in post 3 on Cliquot, and Luis Saez will be aboard Good Cheer. You ride against those top riders day in and day out. Does it help to know their tendencies? Like we hear of other athletes, they'll study game film and they'll try to see, okay, this guy likes to go to his right, but he's not as good if he goes to his left. Do jockeys do that too? Do they try to kind of study the other riders and their idiosyncrasies, if you will?
Of course, yeah. You're trying to play the best cards that you're dealt and where you're at. So, you definitely have to study the riders' tendencies, if you will, or what they like to do with speed horses or what they like to do with closers in different situations inside and outside. So riding with these guys regularly definitely helps, and that definitely makes it easier on riding a race like this.
What is Joelle Rosario's biggest strength? What makes him so good?
He definitely is patient. If he gets pressured, he definitely likes to hold his horse together and get him on the bridle and make his own run like he's in his own race. So if I were to clear him, he wouldn't panic and hurry up and get to the outside, right? So he probably would just sit right behind me and wait for me to make a run. So he's definitely a patient, on the bridle kind of rider and makes one run move. That's what I get from riding with Joelle.
How about Irad?
Definitely more forwardly placed, loves to get position out of the gate, and definitely is aggressive down the lane. So trying to find your right spot, turn it for home. If you try to go up the rail on him, he's definitely going to come down and make it tight. He won't never hurt you, but he's definitely going to make it tough on you trying to come up the rail. So you would prefer to come on the outside and make a run from there if you could. But if the path is open inside and it's your only shot, you definitely have to take it. So another good rider. Just every rider here has good styles, and they're all top class.
What makes Luis Saez so effective?
He's aggressive as well, and definitely a strong finisher. I get that he's always moving down the lane. He never, it looks like sometimes he's beat, but he's able to find some more right before the wire there and prevail.
What's allowed Dylan Davis to have so much success?
I love it. Just learning from all these other guys. They're top class riders. So, just trying to do that and break well. I always try to get position, but I listen to my horse, and if he likes to be last, likes to come from off the pace, we just make one run from there. But I love to adjust to my horse's running style and make one run.
Again, Cara goes in the Cotillion. Dylan will be aboard. That's race 13 at Parks here Saturday afternoon. The race before, the Gallant Bob, Grade 2, sprint, 6 furlongs. Much different scenario for you, Dylan. You're going to ride a horse by the name of Wax Box, which you have never sat on before. So tell me about your preparation getting to ride a horse in a Graded Stakes that you've never been aboard. You don't know anything about him.
Yeah, good question. So, all I can do right now is watch replays on his previous races. I already watched that he had a nice stalking run up the rail and gave me a good finish to the wire and had a good time, 109 and change. So it looks like he likes to be in a stalking position. So just trying to break the best I can and save some ground and kind of mimic that same run. Looks like he likes to come up the rail with that last one. So hoping, it's a step up in class and hoping that they go a little quick for me and find a seam through there to quarter pole and come on and finish strong.
Yeah, he's 20-1 on the morning line. Cara will not be 20-1. She'll be among the favorites. Is your mindset, your mentality any different when you're riding a long shot like this as opposed to the favorite?
You really can't have that because then you're just going to ride differently. So you always have to think that you have a chance in every race that you ride and give the best effort you can. I mean, that's only fair to the owners and trainers and everybody that puts their work into it. So, you've seen long shots win big races and 1 to 5 shots win. So anything's possible out there. That's why they run the race. And all I can do is put the horse in the best spot to win the race at the time. And hopefully he's there for me when I ask him.
Dylan, I mentioned that you're coming off of a magical year in 2024, and 2025 has been rock solid as well. Did you notice, I don't know, I'll call it an uptick in business or people reaching out to you and your agent saying, hey, man, if you're available, we'd love to have you on because you've kind of got the hot hand right now. Did you notice that at any point during 2025?
I have, yeah. From 2024 to 2025, definitely been riding more class races more frequently, and that's been the goal this whole time of my whole career, and trying to move up the ranks and ride frequently in those types of races, and it's been great. So just continuing on to prove myself once we get into these races that I can get the job done just like everyone else, and hopefully just get lucky. But we got to keep the ball rolling, and everything's been going well.
Yeah, keep it going, my friend. Best of luck later today, and safe trip every time you get a leg up.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, that is Jockey Dylan Davis here on HRRN. I love that when we were talking about the other top riders that he competes against day in and day out, and to hear him talk about their strengths and what makes them so good. He does know their intricacies, and I guess some of that's dictated by the horse that you're riding, but to hear him walk through, okay, Joel Rosario, he's not going to panic. He's very patient. Erod, he's aggressive. He's going to try and get himself into the best spot. And if you're trying to come up the rail, turning for home, Erod's not going to let you through. He's not giving you anything. That was really cool. And my thanks to Dylan. Best of luck to him. Cara, boy, she's got some talent, doesn't she? Early speed in bunches. We'll see if that pays off later today in that $1 million Grade 1 Cotillion. All right, coming up next, we'll turn our attention to the Pennsylvania Derby. You'll hear from Lee Searing of CRK Stable. He'll talk Baeza, who this time does not have to face sovereignty, doesn't have to face journalism. I'm sure he's happy to see that. We'll see if Baeza can get that Grade 1 victory on his resume coming up later today. That's next after your Legends of the Turf and this short commercial break.
On an absolutely picture-perfect day for thoroughbred racing at Saratoga, the Dowager Empress of American racing, 7 horses were to go postward for the 1941 Hopeful Stakes. This race, the 4th on the day's card, was for 2-year-olds, ipso facto, the moniker. It had originally drawn 238 nominees, but that number was cut down to 133 eligibles prior to the race. The reason that a short field of 7 went postward was that 3 of the 7 raced as a single betting interest for trainer John Gaver. The Manhasset Stablehead Amphitheater, the Sir Galahad III colt who had won the Saratoga Special in commanding style. The green tree colors were sported by Shutout, the Equipoise colt who had run second in the Special and won the Grand Union Hotel Stakes, and Devil Divers, the other half of their entry. Devil Diver was a St. Germans colt who'd run second to shutout in both the Grand Union and the Sanford. Mrs. Payne Whitney owned Greentree, and her daughter, Mrs. C.S. Payson, owned Manhasset Stable. As an aside, a horse named Buster was in the field, and he was owned by Mrs. Payne Whitney's son, John Hay Whitney. They had in those days come to be known as, quote-unquote, the royal family of the American turf. To most observers, the three-horse entry of Devil Diver, Shutout, and Amphitheater looked to be unbeatable. All three had been racing against better company than there was in this field and had scored impressive wins. Shortly after the start, Devil Diver glided to the lead, and his stablemate Shutout was right there, prompting the pace under the venerable heady Eddie Arcaro. Those two were on the lead on to and around the far turn, with the rest of the small field well bunched and not far back. Around that far turn, there was considerable jockeying for position, which resulted in some bumping. The primary offender was Shutout under Arcaro. Arcaro jostled a challenging Ramillies a good bit amongst others. Devil Diver clung to the lead down the lane, even though tiring a bit in the final furlong, and won it by an open length. Shutout was second by a length, Amphitheater third. So the three-horse entry nailed down the top three spots. In fact, Buster finished fourth, so that the entire amount of the stakes went to the Whitney family. The rest of the story, and the result of a very roughly run race, was that an ask no quarter and give none Eddie Arcaro, who had just resumed riding the previous week after a 30-day suspension for rough riding in Empire City, was once again suspended for his cowboy tactics, so to speak, in this running of the Hopeful, pending a hearing, of course. At that hearing, the stewards of the Jockey Club suspended him for the rest of the year. Many thought the suspension should have been for life, since the foul in the Hopeful was so blatantly flagrant. You'd think the young, aggressive, and precocious Arcaro would have learned his lesson from that, but not Eddie. Early the next year in the Cowden Stakes, Arcaro and his mount got bumped just after the start while he was aboard Occupation. The offending rider was Vince Nodarse aboard Breezing Home. Arcaro and Occupation eventually caught up to Breezing Home and Nodarse in the late stages of that race. Arcaro then brought his mount up outside of Nodarse and Breezing Home and literally tried to put Nodarse over the inside rail. The stewards called Eddie in after the race and asked him just exactly what he was trying to do. Said Eddie, "I was trying to kill that Cuban." For that, Eddie got suspended for 1 year. The Hopeful of 1941 in August, and the victory of Devil Diver and Arcaro's rough ride in it, plus the aftermath in Eddie Arcaro's career, a truly memorable, if not great moment, as part of one of the legends of thoroughbred racing.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Get ready for a weekend packed with exciting giveaways and prizes at Delaware Park Casino. Join us Saturday, September 27th and Sunday, September 28th for Delaware Park's Del Cap Festival of Racing. Each day after the 9th race, a lucky fan will win 2 VIP Philly Experience tickets or 2 University of Delaware football tickets with free parking. Sunday, September 28th is Del Cap Hat Giveaway Day while supplies last. All happening at Delaware Park Casino, where winning is always in play. Visit DelawarePark.com for more information. Lottery agent for Delaware Lottery. Must be 21 to play.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Baeza and Sovereignty are head and head. Hill Road made that bid but dropped back, and then Sandman there at the top of the stretch. Sovereignty is up to take the lead. He and Baeza in close quarters, but Sovereignty has the upper hand in mid-stretch. Baeza is trying his best to cling to him, but it's Sovereignty and Junior Alvarado still on top, and still with plenty left in the tank. Sovereignty scores in the Jim Dandy. Baeza ran lights out, but he ran into Sovereignty. It was a long way back to a 3-way photo for third. The Kentucky Derby and Belmont winner,
is now a Jim Dandy winner with his eyes on the Midsummer Derby.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Dylan Davis in the previous segment. Now looking ahead to the Pennsylvania Derby and Baeza, who, my goodness, he has to be thrilled to look up and get into the starting gate and look to his left, look to his right, and not see sovereignty, not see journalism. Today, Baeza may be the horse to beat in the $1 million Pennsylvania Derby and finally get that elusive Grade 1 win on his resume. I know that would be music to the ears of CRK stable owner Lee Searing. He is with me now. He is part owner in Baeza along with Grandview Equine. And Lee, good morning. Happy Pennsylvania Derby Day.
Good morning.
Are you ready to roll?
Well, I think I've got the grandkids and a group of people here, and hopefully that'll get it done because I think they're all ready to get over to the racetrack and get this race going.
How nice is it to look at the past performances and not have to see sovereignty and not have to see journalism's name in there?
I'll be very candid with you. When we ran in the Kentucky Derby, I looked around at the horses and I saw this horse, and it was Sovereignty, and he's a man. And so there was no doubt in my mind he was going to be tough, and he was, and he's a good horse. And, then we got beat again in the Belmont, but we were much closer. And he had the outside and we had the inside, so I said we would have been closer. When we ran into Jim Dandy, we kind of, again, got on the inside. He got on the outside. We knew that probably the next event for our horse needing to win a Grade 1 was the Pennsylvania Derby. And the only thing I felt bad about is we always wanted to run in the Travers, but the timing wasn't right to fly him back, and it would have taken a lot out of him. But this race fits perfect. This is just great with us, and we look forward to going over the racetrack today and running against some good horses, but it won't be Sovereignty and journalism.
Well, somebody is going to walk away from the Pennsylvania Derby with a Grade 1 win on their resume. Maybe that horse is Baeza. I know he's highly regarded, 2-1 on the morning line. And he's been knocking at the door, been so close, as you just alluded to, against the two top horses in this division. What's this ride been like for you? Take me through this 2025 campaign.
Well, John Sheriff's very patient, and when we started, it was actually to start in Southern California, then we knew, and my partner Robert Clay, he's a back east guy, and he doesn't. I own the majority of the horse, so he doesn't ever push anything, but he's a horseman, and we kind of knew kind of how this was going to go. And it could end up in the Pennsylvania Derby, and it could end up in the Breeders' Cup, just depending on how much my horse develops. So today will be a developing race because I think what people talk about is other horses, and that's natural. But Baeza, our horse, is older now. He's more focused on racing now. And John's done a really good job. So I think Baeza, being on the outside today too, this will be a really good race for the horse.
How big of a thrill was it watching him storm through the lane in the Kentucky Derby? I know he didn't get there, but my goodness, he had to give you one heck of a thrill.
It was hard to keep following him, but when we finally saw him, there was no horse closing faster than him. And, he obviously likes the mud because he just plowed right through those horses. So that was very exciting. And to run third, to be honest, my philosophy is my horses run first, second, or third or are right on the wire. I'm a happy guy.
I can imagine. So Lee Searing, CRK Stable, the principal owners of Baeza, going in today's $1 million Pennsylvania Derby. Lee, how good is this dam, Puka?
Well, I know they're trying to syndicate her. They're trying to sell her. Robert Clay owned her. He owned her right at the right time to be able to put 2 horses in the classics. And here's Baeza, the third one. I think we might, according to him, have the most well put together, mentally put together horse of all 3 of them. I think if we can win one, he's the one horse out of the 3 that would be an outstanding stallion the way that he's built. So it's been a great run. He's developing into a good horse, and I would like to see him run as a 4-year-old and be continuing to grow, and maybe we can throw together 2 or 3 of these Grade 1 races, which I think he's capable of it, because he's a really nice horse, and it's fun being around him.
How good is this 3-year-old division this year, Lee?
Pretty tough. I think when you got a horse like Journalism that just wants to beat you, that's what that horse is. I've had those horses, and they're so much fun to be around. And then Sovereignty is just like Man of War. I mean, he's a big, strong machine. And so, but, you got to take shots at horses like this. He hasn't beat us off that much. Then you got the older horses, a wonderful group of older horses. So I think the Breeders' Cup, Del Mar, is going to have a great Breeders' Cup this year.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if Baeza runs the way you expect him to this afternoon, the next step would be the Breeders' Cup Classic?
For sure.
And that's going to be a salty race, like you just said. The older horses are great. They're strong, and then you get this fantastic crop of 3-year-olds. That could be. Well, we've had some great Breeders' Cup Classics. This could be one of the deepest, most contentious renewals we've seen in a long time.
Absolutely. That's the way it could come down. In fact, the Breeders' Cup in general could be a really good day of racing.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree. Lee, you mentioned that you have the grandkids there, hoping maybe that'll be enough to put Baeza over the edge and get him into the winner's circle. How many grandkids, how many family members do you have with you?
7 grandkids and 6 adults, and the grandkids just love the horses. We went over to the barn this morning. Baeza's doing fine. They got excited. They love coming. They're just busy with sports, but anytime they can come, and this worked out just great, we're here.
How is Baeza with the kids when you bring them to see him in the barn?
No, well, he's kind of a rambunctious horse, but I mean, he let them take pictures with him, and so no, he was taking a bath, so the kids did get in there and pet him and maybe help him take a bath. It was kind of fun.
I know when we talked before, you spent some time telling me your story of how you first got involved with racing, and then you talked about naming CRK Stable for your children, Christina, Richard, and Catherine. Walk through that again real quick, Lee. How did you first get hooked on thoroughbred racing?
Well, I was an altar boy in the Catholic Church, and my father, when they started racing down in Caliente and started racing on Sundays, and he said, well, I was 8 years old, we're going to the races. So my whole family, my grandfather, my dad, and my mom, we became horse race nuts. And we toured the circuit for years and years and years. Owned my first horse when I was 18. My father split it with me. I went to work. The horse won 3 straight races down in Caliente. We won hundreds of races at Caliente. And then we loved the LA County Fair. And we never, dreamed of getting into San Diego, Hollywood Park, Del Mar. But we did. And we had very little success. But I started a business, a new business for me and my brother, and it's doing really well over 40 years. So I've been involved with the horses for 50 years. So, but the company has done real well, and it's allowed me to buy these better horses. My brothers have gone a different direction, but I have stayed the course. and I have a wonderful stallion. I have wonderful broodmares in Kentucky, wonderful people helping me, and then I have this group of racehorses that I buy and sell some. But right now, I'm just yesterday a horse called the Englishman won over at Churchill Downs and almost set the track record as a 2-year-old. And so, maybe this is year I can get the 2-year-olds off and running too, so we can get ready for the 3-year-old year.
Hope springs eternal. What, other than the pedigree, which is fantastic with Baeza, what else stood out to you early on about him?
Well, April Mayberry picks my horses out, and she's a great eye for a horse. And she did a short list, and this horse just kept showing up. And I would go out. I went out there. I go to that sale every year, and I said, well, we just got to have that horse. This horse was just absolutely gorgeous. Had nothing to do with his pedigree. It had everything to do with just the horse itself. He's just a pure athlete. And I think that the longer he races, the better he's going to get, the stronger he's going to get. So he's stronger now. We love this horse, and we wanted to buy him.
Well, I know, Lee, that you're thankful that you did. I know a lot of racing fans are thankful that you and the team with CRK and Grandview Equine have partnered on this horse. And I want to wish you all the best with Baeza, and let's see if he can get that grade 1 today. Good luck, my friend.
Appreciate the phone call. You good to have a good day, too.
Always fun to catch up. Lee Searing, CRK Stables here on HRRN. Yeah, I mean, listen, such a wonderful ambassador for the sport, right? He's so positive when he talks about the game, and he's had a lot of success. And you heard him say he's been in the game, 40 years now? 4 decades. That's hard to believe. I didn't know it was that long. I knew he'd been in the game a while, but 4 decades, sensational. And he's continued to do things the right way. And here he is, potentially rewarded with Baeza this afternoon. And if he can run his race here today, you heard him say the next step is the Breeders' Cup Classic, which if everybody stays on track, what a showdown that's going to be. That race is the 3-year-old division, as we know, Sovereignty, Journalism, Baeza. Those are the top 3, right? But Gosger's right there. I think you have to mention, if you're going to mention Baeza as being among the top in this division, you have to mention Gosger. Gosger was second, beaten just a half length in the Preakness to Journalism. Second, beaten just a half length in the Grade 1 Haskell to Journalism. He's right there. Just like Baeza. They just haven't broken through yet. One of those two would be a logical choice to break through this afternoon and add a Grade 1 to their resume. But Gosger adds a lot of intrigue to this. He is a. If you hook Gosger in the stretch, you're going to know it. He's a fighter. And what do you do with Magnitude? I asked you the poll question here this morning. Which race, the Cotillion or the Pennsylvania Derby, offers the most intrigue? What do you do with Magnitude? Here's a horse that blew the doors off the competition in the Grade 2 Risen Star, immediately put himself at the top of the list of Derby contenders. Now, keep in mind, he was 43-1 that day. He won by nearly 10 lengths. He comes back after being injured and skipping the Kentucky Derby and the Triple Crown. They bring him back in the Iowa Derby, wins by almost 10 lengths again, equally as brilliant as his win in the Risen Star. And then they throw him into the deep waters. Okay, let's see what we have. They put him in the Grade 1 Travers. Sovereignty wins that race by 10. Magnitude was another 10 lengths behind him there. So he was beaten by 20 lengths that day. Finishes third of 5. Was it the competition? Was it the racetrack? Was it the pace scenario? How does he respond after that disappointing effort? How does he respond in this $1 million race? And if he wins, if he runs off the television screen again, and let's say he wins by 9 or 10 lengths again, look out. You know he's going to head to Del Mar. And probably at that point, a run in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I guess they could go to the Dirt Mile, but probably the Classic, I would imagine. If that race today is that impressive. But again, it all adds to the intrigue And I'm going to update you on the poll question here in just a minute after this next break. But it all adds to the intrigue of that Pennsylvania Derby this afternoon. And then, of course, the Cotillion is going to be sensational just before the Pennsylvania Derby. All right, when I come back, I'll get you updated on that poll question. I'll get you ready for Hour 2 and tell you what's coming up in Hour number 3. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed, Versailles, Kentucky.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becker. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
We have the world at our fingertips, inspiration in our touch, and power in our hands. Our hands, gentle enough to hold the next generation, yet strong enough to build movements that can change the world. Our hands can build relationships, frame ideas, and empower communities. We have the ability to share and imagine, create and comfort, love and heal the world around us. And it doesn't stop there. Right here, in our hands, we have the power to save a life. If you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest.
The power is in your hands.
Anthem Foundation is the proud national supporter of the American Heart Association's Hands Only CPR campaign.
Thursday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, is the Brisnet.com call-in show. It's your chance to call in and let the Horse Racing Radio Nation know what's on your mind. Call us at 888-966-HRRN. That's 888-966-4776. And discuss the topics you choose in the world of thoroughbred racing. The Brisnet.com call-in show. Sirius 162, XM 207, and streaming live at horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
The daughter of Cold Front, Hall and Ice, is an eighth of a mile from home with 3 lengths to hold. The Danger's Vincy Girl, she's gained into second, but time running short now, and it's still Hall and Ice who's clear to the finish. Up into second is Vincy Girl. She's gaining, but not quickly enough to catch Hall and Ice for TC2 Racing to win the Musical Romance by 3.
But Mystic Lake's in front with a furlong to go and opens up by 5. Mystic Lake from Baba, who's trying hard in second, but Mystic Lake is long gone. It's Mystic Lake and Tyler Gaffleone to take the Misty Bennett pink ribbon by 3.5.
Couple of good runners there, huh? Hall and Ice, Mystic Lake. They're back in action today, both trained by Saffie Joseph Jr. He has several horses in that Win and You're In Princess Rooney, including those two this afternoon. Owned by C2 Racing Stable. Mark Cornett, Clint Cornett, the principals behind C2. Mark is going to join me coming up in just a few minutes, 9 o'clock Eastern. Not only will he talk about Hall and Ice and Mystic Lake, he's also going to look back on their huge win last year in the Princess Rooney, and then an even bigger win in the Filly and Mare Sprint with Soul of an Angel. That's in our Road to the Breeders' Cup segment coming up here 9 o'clock Eastern, 9:20. I will tell you the fantastic story of Jim Gosger, the namesake of today's Pennsylvania Derby contender, Gosger. 82 years old, former Major League Baseball player. He has a great story. I'll tell you that coming up 9:20. And at 9:40, trainer Brendan Walsh will talk about Gosger. He'll talk about both of his runners, as a matter of fact, in the Pennsylvania Derby, and Cliquot, the Indiana Oaks winner, going in the Grade 1 Cotillion. It's a busy day for Brendan at Parks, and looking forward to that conversation. Poll question, I'm asking you, which of those races, the Cotillion or the Pennsylvania Derby, offers the more intriguing matchups this afternoon? You have Good Cheer, Cara, Scottish Lassie in the Cotillion. You have Baeza, Gosger, Magnitude in the Pennsylvania Derby. So far, 58% of you saying it is the Cotillion that's a bit more intriguing. And I can see that. And I think that's the race that will have the biggest impact on that division going forward. I'm going to ask Dale and Tim that question when they come up and join me at the final segment of the show, 10:30 Eastern. Want to remind you, too, if you are sticking around Lexington after the Keeneland sales, which, by the way, kudos to Keeneland. Fantastic sale. Record-breaking. Incredible. And a great sign for our industry. Well done to the Keeneland sales team. But if you're going to be sticking around after the sale, if you're going to be back here for the race meet, don't delay. Get your reservations now for Tony's of Lexington. You want a great meal? Awesome steak. I told you, the best steak I've ever had anywhere. Make your reservation now for Tony's. Don't delay. Get in there now. They're going to be busy. They'll be filling up. The food is fantastic. The staff is incredible. And the atmosphere is great, too. They're on Main Street just behind Rupp Arena here in Lexington, Kentucky. And make sure you make your reservations now. You will not be disappointed. All right, hour 2 coming your way in just a moment after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
1 hour in the books, 2 to go here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Welcome back, Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch. Happy to have you along for the ride again this morning. It is a very busy morning, as it customarily is here on the program. If you missed any portion of the first hour of the program, you missed that really fun conversation with Jockey Dylan Davis. Who knows? Maybe one day he becomes a trainer. But right now, he's riding Cara in the Acorn, and that is his focus this afternoon. He was a really fun interview, as he always tends to be. And you also missed that conversation with Lee Searing of CRK Stable, talking about Baeza. Happy he doesn't have to face sovereignty or journalism this afternoon. But I think if you read between the lines and you listen to what he said, I think he's really looking forward to a potential showdown with both of those horses in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I think Lee still feels like he may have the top 3-year-old in the country. Now, he's not going to be the champion. That's going to go to sovereignty. But he's been knocking heads and hasn't been that far off of sovereignty and journalism. And I think he's really looking forward to a showdown with them in the Breeders' Cup Classic, which should be fantastic. The Filly and Mare Sprint's going to be pretty good, too. And that's where Mark Cornett of C2 Racing Stable is hoping to find himself after winning the race last year with Soul of an Angel. And this is the way it sounded.
Soul of an Angel is passing horses on the far outside, and they're into the stretch. And here's Scylla. Scylla takes the lead on the outside. Pleasant goes with her. Ways and Means in Society. Soul of an Angel on the far outside. And One Magic Filly. Oh, it's wide open. They're coming down to the finish. Who's it going to be? It's Soul of an Angel in a huge upset in the Filly and Mare Sprint.
NBC's Larry Colmus with the call of last year's running, the big upset for the Safi Joseph-trained Soul of an Angel. This afternoon, Mark Cornett, C2 Racing Stable, looking forward to watching Holland Ice and Mystic Lake do their thing in the Princess Rooney, and maybe lightning will strike twice at Del Mar. Who knows? Mark is with me now as we go down the road to the Breeders' Cup. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Just a quick update on that. Mystic Lake will be scratched, and she's going to be running in Parks up there.
Oh, okay.
So
She is going to go in Parks.
Hauling ice. Yeah, we'll just have hauling ice down here.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty good one. If you're going to go with one, hauling ice is pretty good too.
Yeah, we decided to split them up, so we'll see. It looks like the track's going to be fast. I'm standing here right in front of it. We were hoping for a little rain for her. She seems to be a mud freak, but we're not going to get that. It doesn't look like. So it's probably going to be a fast track down here.
She has been really solid, just like Mystic Lake. They've both been really good for you throughout their careers. Let's start with Hauling Ice. What are you seeing from her coming into the Princess Rooney that gives you the confidence that she's ready for a big race?
Yeah, that last race really didn't develop like we wanted. First of all, the pace was very, very quick. They went 44 and change. And out of the gate, she actually stepped on herself. She stumbled out of the gate, stepped on herself. She lost her one of her shoes about 100 yards into the race, so she ran around there with 3 shoes on. So that didn't do her any favors, but she's been training much better than she went into the last race, and hopefully pace presence wise she should be formidable on the front end here. We think she'll get a nice easy lead here.
Yeah, that seems to be her preferred running style, right? To get out to the front and say, catch me if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. She didn't have to have it, but she seems to run her best races on the front end. She likes to kind of kick away at the quarter pole and then go from there.
What went into the decision to send Mystic Lake up north to Parks?
We're just trying to manage her a little different this year. I want to keep her out of the 7 furlong races. We think she's better going 3/4 to 6.5, and just kind of manage her around in some spots and see if we can. My goal with her is to get her to 20 wins and over $2 million in earnings. So there's really, other than winning a Grade 1 or getting Grade 1 place, there's nothing we can really do to increase her asset value. So, winning another Grade 3 or something really doesn't help that. So it's more about purse money from this point forward with her. So we're just trying to manage her in spots, which we've done. She's been won 3 in a row. So hopefully we can make it 4 today.
2-1 on the morning line in race number 10. That's the $150,000 Liberty Bell Stakes, 6.5 furlongs on the main track at Parks this afternoon. And she's currently sitting on 19 wins. So, 20 achievable this afternoon.
Yeah, she's got 19 starts.
19 starts, 10 wins, right.
So we got a ways to go.
yeah, exactly right. I read it wrong. 19 starts. This will be her 20th lifetime start, and it would be an 11th win if she can pick it up.
Correct. So we'll see if we can accomplish that goal. She's been training good, very smart mind. She's easy on herself in the mornings, and she seems to fire every time. So.
Yeah, she's really, really tough. Do you see the filly and mare sprint in the future for both of these fillies?
It depends how they run. More so if Hauling Ice came down here on a fast surface and showed us something. She's going to have to run probably a 95 to 102 buyer to justify going in there. It is a win in your end, but she's not Breeders' Cup nominated, so we'd have to pay that fee. But that's a very, very tough division this year, so we'll have to really dissect who's going in there to make that kind of decision with her.
Mark, how are these decisions made? Is it strictly you and Clint saying, hey, here's what we're doing, or do you sit down with Safi and you say, Saf, what are you seeing? What do you think would be best for these horses?
Well, that's the beautiful part about our relationship with Safi. We've been in the barn now since 2021 when we put White Barrio in there, and the beautiful thing is information that we get is so accurate, so we can make intelligent decisions on how to manage these horses. He knows how to. He understands when we tell him something. I understand when he tells us something. We both respect the opinions of each other, and it's kind of a mixed management decision. When we buy a horse or when we own a horse, we have a vision for that horse. So we explain what the vision is up front to the trainer, and then we try to figure out how to get to that goal, whether it's a 2-race goal or a 3-race goal or further. So it really works good between Safi and I. We're very honest with each other, and like I said, we get accurate information, which is the most important thing.
I am a huge Safi Joseph Jr. fan. I've become very good friends with him over the years, and I think, this is going to be kind of a Captain Obvious type of statement, but I think he's among the top trainers in the game today. But it wasn't always that way for Safi. He's paid his dues. He's worked his tail off along with his father. We like to call him Big Saf. This entire team is just they're clicking on all cylinders right now, Mark, but they're such wonderful people beside being great trainers.
Yeah, I don't think people realize what a great guy Safi is and what a good family man he is.
Yes.
That kind of stuff just isn't publicized in this business. I've had all the trainers. I've had Baffert, Asmussen, you name them, I've had them, Chad Brown, and they're all good people. But Safi, he's just such a good family man, like I said, and again, the accurate information, it's sometimes these trainers, it's hard pulling information out of these trainers. Safi's not one of them.
We heard the call of Soul of an Angel winning the Filly and Mare Sprint last year. Take me back to that day for a minute. And as you were listening to that call here this morning, what was going through your mind?
Boy, I'll tell you what, I actually had goosebumps for multiple reasons. I had not only did she run fantastic, she was so far back. We thought she was going to be back. We were very high on her going into the race, actually. She was training so good when she got out to Del Mar. She just loved that weather out there and everything else. Multiple trainers and people just couldn't believe how good she was training over there at Del Mar. So we were very high on her going into the race. She was way further back than we thought. Way further back. And, she just kept inching her way up around the turn. She did kind of flatten out for a minute, I thought, at the 8th pole, but then, the pace was so fast, nobody was really running at the end, so we got there at the wire. And, Drayden did a masterful job. He never panicked. He rode her the whole way around there, had confidence in her. That's why we kept him on the horse, because of, he had the prior race basically happened the same way. So very fulfilling to get that accomplishment, not only for my brother and I, Clint and C2 and the partners, but with Safi getting his first Breeders' Cup win. Very, very fulfilling.
Give me an update on the Breeders' Cup Classic winner from a couple of years ago, White Barrio. What's next for him?
Yeah, he's down here at Gulfstream. I'm sitting here watching him train right now. He's doing great. He's going to go straight into the Breeders' Cup Mile. And we're going to dodge the Mile and Quarter Classic. It looks like it's kind of loaded this year, so we're going to go in the Mile. And I would think he'd be one of the first two choices in there.
Yeah, it's a loaded. I was just talking about that with Lee Searing at the end of the first hour of the program, how good this Breeders' Cup Classic is shaping up to be if everybody stays on track. But, White Barrio, he's been there, done that. He's won that race. And I know you've tried him in some big races along the way here, and hopefully trying to get him back there to potentially another run in the Breeders' Cup Classic. But he fits. He still belongs. Why the call to go to the Breeders' Cup Mile?
We've only got a few races left with him, and either his career will end in the Breeders' Cup if we sell him to the overseas market like the Japanese or something for stud duty over there, or if we're going to retire him here in Kentucky, he would end his career in the Pegasus. So. With only having 2 or 3 races left, we kind of want to manage him into spots that we think he's going to be the livest in, and where he can end his career on an up note, basically.
He ends up finishing 4th in the Met Mile. He ends up finishing 4th in the Whitney, 4th in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, all at Saratoga. Is it just a matter of him not getting over that racetrack well?
I'm glad you asked that. I think there's multiple reasons. Obviously, the last race, riding with Irad and Zayas on his back, didn't help us at all. That's a complete throwout. I've never seen anything like that happen in this business.
Mm-hmm.
And so that race was a throwout.
Yep.
The Whitney, we were kind of a victim of circumstance. The horse was never in the proper position in the race, and I think the chart even said we were 5 wide on the first turn, 7 wide on the second turn. And this horse likes to be stalking the pace 2 or 3 wide and make his move at the quarter pole and engage the leaders, and we never got that opportunity. We actually ran the same exact number Sierra Leone on the rag sheets. If you're a rag sheet believer, we ran a 4. Sierra Leone ran a 4. And he wins the race. We got 4. He got to save ground. We didn't. So we were not discouraged off that run at all going into the Jockey Club. And the race before, Irad didn't believe he liked the shoot. He got pumped pretty good in the shoot and in the Wilson shoot. And so, we think we got 3 legit excuses in there. He did fire in every race, and we look for him. We're going to give him this little freshening here and get him ready for the mile race. We'll think he'll run big out there.
When will he ship out to Del Mar?
That's unknown right now. Probably a week before, somewhere around there. He'll go straight to Del Mar. He'll fly out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mark Cornett, C2 Racing Stable, looking for more Breeders' Cup success. We'll see if he can get it. Maybe it's White Barrio, maybe it's Hall and Ice, maybe it's Mystic Lake. Who knows? He has several chances to get there and to have success. And Mark, I want to wish you all the best. You're always fantastic, and you always take time to join me, and I really do appreciate that. All the best going forward.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, Mark Cornett going down the road to the Breeders' Cup. And as you heard him say, Mystic Lake not going to go in that Winning You're In Princess Rooney. She will instead go to the Liberty Bell at Parks this afternoon. She was cross-entered in both, so he'll have Hall and Ice looking to punch her ticket to the Filly and Mare Sprint. But as you heard him say, even if she wins today, she's not guaranteed to go that direction. She would have to run huge, a big number that he feels makes her competitive in a race like the Filly and Mare Sprint. We'll see how this plays out. If you missed it, going to have the answer coming up to our impossible trivia question here toward the end of the program at 10:55 Eastern. But if you missed us giving out that question in the beginning of the program, I'll pass it along for you right now. How much did Secretariat's heart weigh? What made Big Red Big Red? A lot of people said it was that heart. How much did it weigh? The answer coming your way at the end of the program. Challenge yourself. No Googling. See if you can guess this one and get it right. When I come back, I will tell you the incredible story of Gosger, the Pennsylvania Derby contender. I'll tell you the story of his namesake, Jim Gosger. It's a story you will not want to miss. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Will you accept the Breeders' Cup Challenge? The chance to compete against the best in the world? The chance to race for a piece of over $34 million in purses and awards? The chance to be a champion. Winning a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race gives you the chance to do just that, with an invitation to horse racing's biggest event of the year, the Breeders' Cup World Championships in Del Mar, where finish lines become the start of a legacy and starting gates shine on the world stage. Win a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race and earn an automatic starting position in a Breeders' Cup race. Entry fees paid by the Breeders' Cup, a Nominator Award of $10,000, travel awards, and so much more. Here, winning a Challenge Series race is just the beginning. View the schedule of Challenge Series races happening around the world and learn more at breederscup.com/challenge. In the heat of competition, every breath matters. Flair Equine nasal strips are clinically proven to reduce airway resistance. By protecting their lungs, you can reduce the risk of EIPH, quicken recovery, and optimize performance. Make a difference in every race and every stride with the product backed by science and trusted by top trainers. Trust Flair for every horse, every breath. Learn the science at flairstrips.com. That's flairstrips.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Gosger is still fourth toward the inside. Bullard is fifth. They're at the quarter pole, still 6 lengths off the lead as they move off the far turn to the top of the short stretch. Here's Preeter right alongside of Bracket Buster. Then Gosger and Hypnus. Bullard has to go wide, still 8 from the front. Preeter has the lead. Here's Gosger to the outside, Bracket Buster back toward the inside, and then Hypnus and Bullard still far back, and Gosger's got the lead in the final furlong of the Stone Street Lexington. Gosger and Irad Ortiz Jr. to win it. It was Bracket Buster who was home second, followed across the line by Preeter in 1 minute 44.15 seconds.
That's Kurt Becker with the call of the Grade 3 Lexington, won by Gosger, who returns in today's Pennsylvania Derby after finishing second in the Preakness, second in the Haskell. Maybe today is the day that Gosger adds that elusive Grade 1 to his resume. That's what all those contenders are hoping to do this afternoon in the Pennsylvania Derby. Gosger's a great story. You're going to hear from his trainer, Brendan Walsh, coming up in the next segment. But in my opinion, what's maybe even a better story is the story of his namesake, 82-year-old Jim Gosger, who more than a half century ago was looking to make a name for himself as a rookie playing in Major League Baseball. And this past week, our Tim Wilkin put together an incredible story, did a great job after visiting with Jim Gosger. He wrote a story about his time in the major leagues. And I'm going to tell you that story, and then Timmy's going to join me to talk more about that conversation with Jim. But today, of course, Jim Gosger's namesake is going to look to capture his first Grade 1 in the $1 million Pennsylvania Derby. Jim Gosger is not going to be making that 500-mile trip from his home in Port Huron, Michigan. He lives in the same house he grew up in. But he will be watching Gosger, the colt, and he'll be yelling, he'll be hollering, he'll be screaming with a handful of his friends, pleading at his television to get Gosger, the horse, home first. Well, Jim Gosger played in the major leagues in the 1960s and 70s and spent time with the Boston Red Sox, the Kansas City and Oakland Athletics, the Seattle Pilots, the Montreal Expos, and the New York Mets. The part-time outfielder had a career batting average of .226. He hit 30 home runs, one of them off New York Yankees Hall of Famer Whitey Ford on the last day of the 1965 season while he was with the Red Sox. He was a teammate of Willie Mays in New York and Reggie Jackson in Oakland. He was the last batter to ever face the legendary Satchel Paige. And the New York Mets once declared him dead in front of a full house at Citi Field. More on that in just a minute. Gosger, the man, is focusing on Gosger, the horse, this weekend. The honor of having his name bestowed on a high-powered thoroughbred came about because of a woman who, when she was 9 years old, was a diehard fan of the Miracle Mets of 1969. Her name is Donna Clark. And back in the day, she knew everything and anything about the Mets. About 9 years ago, Clark said she became a Facebook friend with Gosger after friends of hers had done the same. And although they had never met, she began corresponding with him. And she knew he had played for the Mets, so it kind of made sense. The Clark family from New Jersey breeds and owns thoroughbred racehorses. Donna's husband, Harvey, who ran the family's racing operations, passed away in 2019. Her son, Scott, is now in charge of the 30-something horses owned by Harvey Clark Racing Stables. In 2023, the gray horse who would become Gosger was born. Scott wanted to name him Boswell after his mother's favorite 1969 Met. That was second baseman Ken Boswell. That name, however, was taken. Then she thought of her Facebook pal. He is such a nice man, Donna Clark said. When my husband passed away, he called me, which was nice. I met a bunch of baseball players in my day, but he seemed to be the nicest of all. He calls me and we talk. Jim is my friend. Gosger lives alone in Michigan with his dog and his 5 cats. His wife, Kathy, passed away on New Year's Day in 2024. His legs aren't as good as they used to be, and it's tough to get around, but he can talk baseball all day long. Stories about being tutored in the minor leagues by the great Ted Williams, getting caught up in the ivy in the outfield wall at famous Wrigley Field in Chicago, and getting the chance to hit against the immortal Satchel Paige. In September of 1965, the Red Sox were in Kansas City, and A's owner Charlie Finley brought the 59-year-old Paige out of retirement as part of a publicity stunt. To everyone's amazement, he threw 3 scoreless innings, allowing just 1 hit, a double by Carl Yastrzemski. Gosger was the last player to face him, and he grounded out. Paige never pitched again. Gosger kicked around the big leagues, found himself with the New York Mets for 5 weeks in 1969. He played in 10 games, got 15 at-bats, and was used mostly as a defensive replacement. He did not make the playoff roster and was not part of the Mets' World Series upset of the Baltimore Orioles that year. What irked Gosger then, and does to this day, is that he did not receive a World Series ring. And the final insult came 50 years later when the Mets honored the surviving members of that team. Gosger was memorialized as part of a video tribute on the stadium scoreboard recognizing those miracle Mets who had passed away. Gosger was very much alive and was livid when he found out. Late that night, an official from the Mets called him to apologize. I told him to bleep off and hung up, Gosger said, still smarting from the insult. That was terrible. Mostly, Gosger's mind is a scrapbook of memories of years gone by and his days of summer. At his advanced age, he's hopeful of more memories to come from the 4-legged Gosger. My dream right now is that I can go and put my arms around him and hug him before I die, Gosger said. I am hoping I can do that sometime. I just have a love for that animal and a love for Donna and all that she has done for me. What a cool story. That story I just read you, written by our very own Tim Wilkin, who you'll hear every week on I Ask the Answer. Timmy is with me now. Tim, I had to read it. I know it wasn't quite word for word the way you wrote it, but I tried to be as close as possible. Man, that was fantastic.
Hey, Mike, thanks a lot. It was, when I talked to Jim earlier this week, I got him on the phone at his home in Michigan, and I was on the phone with him for 45 minutes. And it was like talking to in a time warp, him telling me the stories of his days in the 60s and the 70s when he played ball. And he just gushes over the fact that, he's sort of brought back a little bit into the limelight because of Donna Clark naming the horse after him. I mean, and he gets emotional when he talks about the fact that she did that. He watched the Preakness, he watched the Haskell. When I talked to him, he didn't even know the horse was going to run in the Pennsylvania Derby, but now he's all jazzed up, and he'll have people over at his house to see the horse run today. Just listening to the stories of his time in baseball, and the fact too, Mike, is that what he does now is one of the pictures we put into the story because it went out from the Parks Media Notes team, which I'm working for this week, was a picture of his 1967 baseball card when he was with the Kansas City A's. And if you have a Jim Gosger baseball card and you send it to him, he'll sign it and send it back. But he asks for a $5 charge for it, and the money, every dime he gets, he sends it to the St. Jude charity. That's something that's been very close to him for years. And the reason he said that, because he said when he was in 5th grade in grammar school, a nun told him that she always prayed to St. Jude when things were going badly. And she told young Jim at the time that a couple days later, after praying to St. Jude, everything would be good. So Jim never said he never forgot that. And now, it sounds hokey and corny, but this is what he said. He said that when he was in the major leagues and he would go into a slump, he would start praying to St. Jude. And lo and behold, 3 or 4 days later, he would start hitting again. So he's a very big believer in St. Jude and the foundation of St. Jude. He gives them money all the time. When Donna Clark bet for him, he said he wanted to, in the Preakness, he bet $30 to win on the horse, and he had wagers for him to place and show. He won a little bit of money, and Donna sent him the money, and he shipped it right off to St. Jude. So, he's in love with this horse, and it really, I think, it gives him a sense of excitement and purpose. And, he's 82 years old. He doesn't have a lot to do, but the fact that he has this horse named for him, he gets excited, and it's really kind of cool.
Tim, you mentioned some legendary baseball names in this story that I just read. Ted Williams, Satchel Paige, Reggie Jackson. These are iconic household names in the sport of Major League Baseball. What were a couple of your favorite baseball stories that Jim shared with you?
He told me one about when he was well, first let's talk about the Mets deal of '69. When he didn't. That's
mind-boggling.
When he didn't, when he was declared dead, and it might think it's funny, but he's still ticked off about it to this day. But he was also more disappointed he didn't get a ring. He said he was the only thing he got from the Mets from that. They sent him a check for $100 after the season. He said he sent the check back to Ed Kranepool, who was a Mets first baseman, and he was the player representative for the team. He said, "What?" He goes, "Ed, buy yourself a case of beer and bleep off the rest," that kind of thing. He was mad about that. So he did that, and he also was talking about when he first, his dad followed him. His dad told him at the age of 8 that he was going to play in the majors. They went to a game at Detroit's old Tiger Stadium, and they sat in the outfield, and the dad was a big fan of the Boston Red Sox. And he pointed out to the outfield and pointed one player out in the outfield and said to young Jim, "Do you know who that is?" And Jim said, "Dad, I'm 8 years old. I don't know who anybody is out there." He goes, "That's Ted Williams, and one day you're going to be playing outfield for the Boston Red Sox." And lo and behold, the Red Sox were the first team he played for, which was, he fulfilled a dream of his dad to play in the major leagues. And how many people can say that they've done that? But
it's
and
such
he talked about playing against Willie Stargell. He loved playing against him. He played against Ernie Banks, and just the fact that
Willie Mays.
Oh yeah, he played with Willie Mays when he was with the Mets towards the end of his career in '73. He loves talking baseball. I probably could have talked to him for another couple hours because it just the stories are so fresh in his mind still, even though they happened 50 some odd years ago. It's awesome stuff.
It truly is awesome stuff, and the way you brought this story to life, Timmy, was I had to read it, and I had to have you on the show to tell some of those stories because it's such a very positive thing, and it's a great – whenever we can get those crossovers from other sports into thoroughbred racing, and this is certainly one of those stories. I love these kind of storylines. And I guess no disrespect to Ken Boswell, but I guess we're all very thankful that the name Boswell was actually taken at the time.
Actually, Donna Clark is going to be here today, and I'm supposed to meet up with her to meet her. And, one of her goals is to get Jim somehow, somewhere, sometime to meet Gosger, the horse. Brendan Walsh, the trainer, told me the same thing, that they'd love to get him to get them together so he could get his dream to hug that horse. I hope it does happen too.
I mentioned earlier in the show that if you're going to talk about the top horses in the 3-year-old division, it starts with Sovereignty, and then there's Journalism, and then there's Baeza. But I think now Gosger has elevated himself into that top 4. When you look at what he did in the Preakness and then in the Haskell, he's right there with a horse like Baeza behind the top 2.
Well, I think if Gosger were to somehow find a way to win the Pennsylvania Derby, he's number 3. I mean, it's
yep.
He's got the Lexington win, and he was second to Journalism in both those, the Preakness and the Haskell, by a half a length each time. He's right there. And if he's the one that gets the Grade 1 out of the Pennsylvania Derby, because none of them have ever won one that are in this field, I think you got to put him, in the conversation for the best after Sovereignty and Journalism, for sure.
Well, Tim, listen, we're going to hear from you later in the program, 10:30 Eastern, you and Dale. I ask, they answer. We're going to talk about the Pennsylvania Derby. We'll talk about the Cotillion and get into a couple more storylines on that segment. But you had referenced the baseball card, Jim Gosger's baseball card, and there was that picture along with your story that was sent out by Parks, also a picture of Brendan Walsh standing there with Gosger at the barn, and that was a picture you took. We posted those 2 pictures side by side on our HRRN X page and on Facebook, so people can go back and look at them. And wonderful stuff all around, my friend.
I appreciate that, Mike. And it's because when I told Jim, he goes, "Where'd you get the baseball card?" I said, "I collected them as a kid." And he goes, "How old the heck are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm not as old as you, Jim, but I'm no spring chicken either."
You actually had that? That's your baseball card?
Oh yeah. I had a couple cards of his from, when he was with Kansas City and Oakland. And I never had one from when he was at Seattle, I don't believe he had one when he was with the Mets because he wasn't there long enough. And by the time, when he's there in '73, I wasn't collecting cards anymore. I kind of grown up, but I kept them.
Well,
but I kept
just
all
a little
cards.
bit young at heart.
Absolutely, but I kept all the cards. I still have them all. I got plenty of great ones from the '60s.
That is so cool. That's fantastic. Jim Gosger, he'll be cheering on his 4-legged friend Gosger in today's Pennsylvania Derby. Tim, really appreciate the time and you doing this on short notice. Enjoy the day. It's going to be spectacular there at Parks this afternoon.
Hey, maybe if Gosger wins, we'll get Jim on I Ask the Answer next week.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I love that idea. Go Gosger.
So, that sounds good to me. I hope he represents really well.
Yep. Timmy, wonderful stuff. Great job with that story.
Great. Thank you, Mike, and I'll talk to you later today.
All right. Tim Wilkin, Dale Romans coming up 10:30 Eastern. I Ask, They Answer. That would be fun. Let's get Jim Gosger on the program. I know Dale would like that too. We'll see. Gosger's got to deliver this afternoon first. Coming up next, we'll continue to talk about Gosger and a few other horses competing up at Parks this afternoon. I'll do that with trainer Brendan Walsh. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
His sire is one of the most exciting young stallions in the world. His dam has become one of the most important broodmares in the industry. And on the first Saturday in May, his genetic brilliance shined brightest on racing's biggest stage.
They come into the final 16, and it is going to be Mage to win the Kentucky Derby.
Mage, standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, Presented by TwinSpires.
It's Top, who leads coming toward the quarter pole. Deloraine and Clico, and here she comes. Clico is right there, coming with a bid now outside of Deloraine as they try to close down Top. Then Golden Eye Magic with Sturgeon Moon and Heavenly Sunsets dropped right away. 3/4 in 1 minute 10.36 seconds, and Clico has taken charge with 1 furlong to go. Clico pulling clear now by 3 from Top. Then Sturgeon Moon, Deloraine, and Golden Eye Magic is next. They're close to home. A toast to Clico. Clico in the Deli Racing Form, Indiana Oaks, and Clico well on top. Top was the runner-up. Sturgeon Moon third, and Deloraine finished fourth.
John Dooley bringing them home in the Grade 3 Indiana Oaks. That was on July 5th. Clico back in action this afternoon in the Grade 1 $1 million Cotillion at Parks, and she is one of a few horses running in stakes, Grade 1 stakes, trained by Brendan Walsh. You're going to hear from Brendan coming up momentarily. We are efforting the top trainer. We'll get him on the show here for you in just a few minutes. But Clico, as good as she was that day, she's got her hands full, having to square off with Cara and Scottish Lassie and Good Cheer in that spot this afternoon. But she was really good. Gets a Rod Ortiz Jr. in the irons. He's certainly familiar with her. She's won 3 in a row. She's won 3 out of 4. All 3 of those wins coming in succession. And that open length, 4-length win in the Indiana Oaks, very impressive. She'll need to continue to move forward if she's going to compete in that spot this afternoon. But 8-1 on the morning line, they certainly think from that perspective she's live. Let's find out what her trainer, Brendan Walsh, thinks. Brendan, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Is she the winner today?
I'd be very cocky to say that she's the winner because there's 3 Grade 1 winners in there. It's a very, very good race, and she'd have to make a big step forward again from Indiana. But I do think she's got a shot. She's been doing great, and she looks like she's very talented. So, she shouldn't be too far away.
What specifically have you seen from her in those last 3 victories that lead you to believe that, okay, we're in the conversation even though it's a tall order?
Yeah, I mean, look, she's been very progressive, Mike. She's done nothing wrong, really, from the very start. She's a classy filly. She's done very well physically. Seems like she's got the mentality to be top class as well, and her work's been excellent. Her work's been very, very good. I mean, it's been pretty much faultless. Yeah. I mean, it should put her right there. Obviously, she lacks a little experience, especially against these better fillies, which is always a little bit of a disadvantage. But and she's got some ground to make up on these good fillies. But, hopefully she can make a big jump forward today. And if she can, she shouldn't be too far away.
Yeah, but I guess, too, Brendan, it's kind of a case of, you got to find out what you have, right? She belongs at the Grade 3 level with that win in the Indiana Oaks. And now you got to find out if she really belongs with the heavy hitters in this division.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, I think she will belong with them, Mike, eventually. But like I said a while ago, you are just at a little bit of a disadvantage as far as seasoning's concerned. She'd have to be very, very, very top class filly to beat them fillies today. Would it surprise me? Absolutely not. But like I said, she is going to have to make a big step forward.
I guess another feather in her cap is much like Cara to her inside. She doesn't need to take her racetrack with her. She's won at Keeneland, she's won at Churchill, and then she's won at Indiana. So she runs well on just about any surface. And I asked Dylan Davis this question earlier in the program when we were talking about Cara. Do you feel like, Brendan, that the surface at Parks is similar to any of those 3 tracks I just mentioned?
I don't know. It can just be. I'm very happy that it's not wet, and that we should have a very good track today, because I remember I ran pretty mischievous in the Cotillion a few years ago, 2 years ago, and it was wet, and it was the only time I ever saw her not travel in her race early on. It was a credit to her that she finished second that day because she didn't like it. think when it's wet, it might be make it a very difficult track. But it should be fair enough today, being a dry track. It seems like they were all getting over it pretty good there yesterday training. I mean, it's different on race day, but I don't think it'll inconvenience her, is what I'm trying to say.
It's interesting that we're talking about Klitko and giving her a shot against some of the top horses in the division, trying to find out if she belongs, because I feel like you and I had a similar conversation about Gosger after he won the Lexington Stakes and was heading in to the Preakness. He had won the Grade 3. Then you had to find out if he belonged against top horses in the Grade 1 Preakness, and yeah, I'd say he does belong now. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, look, she's a very nice filly too, as he was. I mean, I had a fair idea that he was going to be fine against them horses back then, but you're always looking for confirmation. I mean, when you go in against these Grade 1 horses, it's a big step up again. And we've been put in our box enough times that we, it's hard to be confident of it. But all the pointers point to the fact that she should be able to manage fine against them fillies. Okay, let's talk about Gosger now. He finishes second, beaten a half a length to Journalism in the Preakness, comes back, same result in the Haskell where he's beaten just a half a length. Journalism, Sovereignty regarded as the top two horses in the division. I guess it would be the other way around with Sovereignty and then Journalism. But Gosger, not far off. What are you seeing from him coming into this race? He's been doing great, Mike. We've kind of brought him along all year. Because he's just taken plenty of time physically, but he's finally starting to really come to hand. His last couple of works have been very good, and he obviously fits with these, so I think he's finally starting to really, all the pieces are starting to come together. We've always thought of him as a horse, late 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and that's where we're at now. So, he should be right there today. I mean, he's been there every time for us so far, but he should be right there today. What's his biggest strength, Brendan? I think he's just a very solid horse. He's obviously very, very talented, but he seems like he can run them fractions just constantly. I mean, I'd say he goes as far as we would need him to go. He's got that high cruising speed, and he just seems to be able to go along and cruise along as much as you would like him to. He's got a lovely temperament, handles everything well. He's just got all the qualities of a very good horse. In the previous segment, I was visiting with Tim Wilkin, and I read his story of Gosger's namesake, Jim Gosger, the former Major League Baseball player. And it's such an incredible story. And I know Jim Gosger is not going to be at the races today, but in that article, you had said that it would be wonderful if you could find a way to get the two-legged Gosger with the four-legged Gosger and get them together. How cool would that be? Yeah, no, it'd be nice. I was talking to Tim again the other day about it, and he was filling me in, and I think we're trying to hopefully at some point get the two to meet. It'd be nice if he could come to the races at some point or something. But if we could get him to see him some other way, then that would be great too. Apparently, he's taken a huge interest in the horse. And it's a great story. It's a great story. He's obviously it's generated a lot of interest for him, and like I said, it would be great if the two of them could meet up. Yeah, it seems to me as if he's really fallen in love with this horse after watching him in the Preakness and then the Haskell and now going into the Pennsylvania Derby. He had that quote at the end of Tim's article where he said his dream right now is that he can go put his arms around Gosger and hug him before he dies. So it sounds to me like we have to find a way to get these two together.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. We'll, I said to Tim, whatever we need to do, we can't really just deliver the horse to his doorstep, unfortunately. But if we were around the location or what have you, maybe we could arrange it.
Isn't it really, I mean, this is one of the aspects of horse racing, Brendan, that often gets overlooked. It never gets publicized. But all the times, I'm sure you've seen this many, many times over the years, where people come to the barn and they are just so in love with these horses. And if they get a chance to pet them, touch them, get a picture with them, it means the world to racing fans and to owners alike.
Yeah, it does, and I think we tend to forget about it a little bit. Sometimes, Mike, we're in a privileged position to have these horses and to be dealing with them on a daily basis. I think we forget that sometimes, because all of us really, that's what we came into the game for, was to be around horses like this, and we've been lucky enough that it's brought it to us, and I think we forget sometimes how much these people follow these horses, and it's great, really. I mean, we get reminders all the time. People come up and they say, "Oh, how's Gosger?" or "How's Clicko?" or whoever else, and it's really neat. And it's great for people, and I think that's what we need to do to promote the game is have a little more stories like the Gosger story, and maybe give people a little more opportunity where they can come by and see horses in the mornings and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. Brendan Walsh with me here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Gosger, one of two horses he has entered in the Pennsylvania Derby this afternoon. Let's not forget about David of Athens. Not nearly as accomplished as his stablemate, but he's a son of Darley Stallion Nyquist, and he's 2 for 3 lifetime. Brendan, he comes out of that big maiden or allowance win last time out, wins by over 7 lengths. What do you see from him that leads you to believe you can take a shot in this spot this afternoon?
Definitely worth taking a shot with him, Mike. We've always liked the horse. He won a very, very good maiden at Keeneland last year, first time out. And then he got injured. We had to give him a lot of time off, but came back and ran a nice race at Churchill at the end of the spring meet. And then we took him to Ellis, and he ran off the TV screen at Ellis. I mean, he was super impressive. Going a mile and ran a big number. Today it's a question of whether he can carry it forward and go 9 furlongs. He's a really nice horse. I think he's a good horse. It's just a question of what he's going to be good at,
Well, he's been good at almost everything you've asked him to do so far. We'll find out if he's going to be good enough to upset the Grade 1 $1 million Pennsylvania Derby this afternoon. Brendan, you're holding some live cards this afternoon. I want to wish you all the best. Good luck with all the runners that you're going to be sending out.
Thanks very much, Mike.
All right, appreciate it, my friend. Brendan Walsh, I tell you all the time, one of racing's really good guys. And what he said about when I asked him about fans and horsemen coming by the barn to meet these horses, to be around these horses, and how much it means. He brought up a good point. He said oftentimes that's overlooked in our industry, right? It never gets publicized. It just doesn't. But we're in a wonderful position as media members, as horsemen, owners, trainers, breeders, whatever the case might be, to be able to bring people to the horse. And let's face it, I mean, the horse should always be at the center point of our industry. I know it's a gambling business, and yes, that's important, but without the horse, you don't have an industry. And horses are so easy to fall in love with. And so many people, when they get the opportunity to be around these horses, whether it's in the paddock, whether it's in the barn area, whether it's on the farm, it's just such an incredible experience for them, and it's such a easy way to market and to sell our sport. Let the horse do the talking. Let the horse be the one that's leading the charge, if you will. I mean, this industry is all about the horse. And it's such a special moment when people can get up close to any horse, wherever it is in our sport. And as Brendan said, we need to do more of that. And it would be fantastic if he can get Gosger, the person, with Gosger, the horse, at some point. I'm sure that will happen. All right, coming up next, I'll take a look at a couple dates in racing history as they apply to this weekend and tell you what's ahead in hour number 3. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
The National HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
James Brown and Bill Cara welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolatey candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcast using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, getting ready to wind down hour number 2. I'll take a look at a few dates in racing history for you momentarily, but want to update you on today's poll question. Which race offers the more intriguing matchups this afternoon? Is it the Grade 1 Cotillion? Is it the Grade 1 Pennsylvania Derby? 56% of HRRN Nation saying it is the Cotillion that offers the more intriguing matchup. When you think about Good Cheer and Cara and Scottish Lassie, that's going to be a tremendous showdown later today. September 20th, today is it's an important date in racing history. It was September 20th, 1965, that jockey Georgie Velasquez made his American racing debut riding for owner Fred W. Hooper at Atlantic City. He won with his first mount aboard Key Point in the 6th race at odds of 8-1. September 20th, 1976, we say happy anniversary to 2-year-old Seattle Slew, who made his racing debut on this very day in 1976, winning a 6-furlong maiden race by 5 lengths at Belmont Park. And September 20th, 1980, before a crowd of 23,000 spectators, 4-year-old Spectacular Bid won the Woodward Stakes in the world's richest walkover. And to the surprise of trainer Bud Delp and owners Harry, Teresa, and Tom Meyerhoff, Bid was awarded only $73,300 for the victory, which was half of the winner's share of the purse. But it was all that was allowable under the track's rules. There had not been a walkover in a major U.S. stakes race since Coletown won the Edward Burke Handicap on April 23rd, 1949. How about that? Some historical dates in racing history as they apply to this particular day, September 20th. 2 hours down, 1 to go here on the Equine Forum. Don't forget, if you missed any portion of the show so far, you can check out the podcast, horseracingradio.net, and on your favorite podcast platform. Hour 3 loaded with more content, including the TwinSpires Triple Play, Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, Dale and Tim with I Ask, They Answer. If your local station is leaving us at this time, continue listening to the third hour of the program nationwide on Sirius XM satellite radio, ESPN 680 in Louisville, or streaming worldwide at horseracingradio.net. Hour 3 comes your way right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Coming to the 8th hole, Byron has opened up 3. California Club on the inside is giving his best, but he's dropping back. On the outside, Capricorn is taken second. It's Byron pulling away. They're coming down to the finish, and it will be Byron impressive on the front end today.
It is Plum Alley holding on to the lead, getting clear by 3. On the outside, Runaway Rumor along with Invincible Gal. White Frost is down at the rail. They're coming for the finish, and it is Plum Alley with a front-running score in the Winter Memories.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Songbird comes off the turn, and the champ has taken command. At the 8th hole, Songbird begins to stride away. Karina being second, Catherine Sophia laboring back in third. Here she is, folks. Just a magnificent blend of grace and power as she comes to the finish. Songbird, a picture of perfection.
Musical Romance hits the front. Nicole H. quickly on the attack. Nicole H. Musical Romance. These two down to the line in the Princess Rooney. Musical Romance would not be denied in 2012.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Welcome back. Hour number 3 of the Equine Forum, barreling toward the finish line on this 20th day of September 2025. Happy to have you along for the ride. If you missed any portion of the first 2 hours of the program, you missed a lot. Talking about the big racing coming up at Parks this afternoon, including that entertaining interview with Jockey Dylan Davis. We also talked about the road to the Breeders' Cup and the Princess Rooney, the Win and You're In Princess Rooney coming up at Gulfstream later today. All of that was part of the first 2 hours of the show. But if you missed it, don't worry. You can go back to our website after we finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern. Check out the podcast there at horseracingradio.net. You can do that, too, on your favorite podcast platform. Type in Horse Racing Radio Network and listen to all of our shows each and every week. Hour 3 begins as it does every week with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Kevin Kilroy will join me momentarily to give you 3 races to watch and wager at TwinSpires this afternoon. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, the first of a 2-part story series focused on the brilliant Mom's Command. I don't think you'll want to miss it. That subject, Mom's Command, came from a listener request. And if you ever request a horse or a subject that you want Kurt to focus on, feel free to email the show, and we'll see if we can get it worked in for you. I Ask, They Answer with Dale and Tim wraps it up at 10:30 Eastern. But without further ado, we welcome Kevin Kilroy in this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Morning, Kev.
Mike, good morning. How's it going?
Everything is just peachy, my friend. Looking forward to this triple play you've got selected. I have not touched on Churchill Downs yet, and all 3 of your races come from Churchill, which is fantastic. We're going to focus on races 7, 9, and 10, and I like it. There's a little something for everybody with this week's triple play.
Yeah, we've got 11 carded here today, 2 turf races, 4 stakes. Plenty of action across the country, but under the TwinSpires, always good racing. So we've got a couple interesting 3-year-old affairs in here, and the return of Immersive. I skipped over that one, that 6-5 morning line favorite. I don't know what to do with her in the Seneca, but we'll begin with the Harrods Creek. It's a small but mighty field here, I think.
7/8 of a mile on the main track. 3:54 Eastern is the post. It's race number 7 on that program at Churchill this afternoon, and the Harrods Creek carries a purse of $300,000. How'd you see it, my friend?
Smoking Wicked, Dallas Stewart's Lawbred, that Bobby's Wicked one, he's been fantastic. My knock on him, it just seems like the further we go, it's not quite as strong down the lane. So I think he's a touch vulnerable, and he's going to take a ton of money, deservedly so. Jimmy's Dailies. Brian Lynch's got some 3-year-olds. There's no doubt about it. Donut God, Big Trust. I know running elsewhere, but Jimmy's Dailies has been working and catching my eye consistently, working with Litigation, another strong runner for the Lynch Barn, turf runner, most recently with Donut God. Going better than those. And this will be the second start after they sort of regrouped at them. They tried the Kentucky Derby trail with the Florida Derby, tried to stretch him out, and he was decent there to Grande, but I think he's much more effective at one turn. We were second to Big Truz at Ellis Park, working like we're moving forward. Jose Ortiz taking the call. I think we'll get a fair enough price. I'd like to get 5-2 to bet that one, but Jimmy's Dailies for me. Smoking Wicked's going to get a piece of it. Super impressive. Semper Primus for Jimmy DeVito. Should be able to get the lead, but might take some pressure. Jimmy's Dailies in here for me. I'm excited to see this Tacoma Colt run.
Kevin, I like the way you talk about the workouts and some of the workmates that Jimmy's Dailies has been involved with, because that's a key handicapping factor for a lot of people, and it's not something that shows up readily in the past performances. How do you go about gathering that information?
When I can, I'm out there. So just right above the finish line in the balcony there, I'll sit there and I'll record them, and I'll do that dirty work of cross-referencing Equibase and seeing who comes up on the work tab and trying to figure out who's who and what's what. It's a tough little go. But when I'm not there, I rely on Bruno. Bruno's team does great. Bruno at the Works up on KentuckyBred.org. Jason Graff and his son and Gabe and everybody who's up there. They capture good stuff. They can never capture it all. They just come flying at you, especially after the breaks or the beginning of the morning. So I like to be there and pick them up myself and try to get a sense for it. It's something. You're trying to find an edge in this game, and it's something. It's not always readily available, as you mentioned, to a lot of handicappers out there. So especially with all the 2-year-old races that we've got, Mike, it's really, really helpful to get a feel with that. So Jimmy's Dailies pressing me in the morning. I think he looked talented in the afternoon a few times. Let's see if he can get it done against the likes of these. That's the question.
Should get a square price. 7-2 on the morning line on number 3, Jimmy's Dailies in the Harrods Creek. That is race number 7 at Churchill. Race 9 is the second leg you've chosen, Kevin. That's the Grade 3 Dogwood. Again, 7/8 of a mile on the main track. This one for the 3-year-old ladies. Who wins this one?
It's hard to go in between the 3 logicals in here. Echo Sound, came back pretty quick for the test. Had a very hot pace. It set up nicely for Ragtime and Kilwin, kicking late up at Saratoga. Ragtime blinkers off, just the fourth start for Mott. Junior coming in town to ride. But Delightful Claire, another one, lightly raced. Phil Bauer's 1,000 Words filly. She looked sensational winning, breaking her maiden. It was very hot pace, set up for closers, and nothing of the sort. She just kept on going. Very strong pace figures throughout. I thought she ran well, even though she stumbled in the prior S. I thought she had a steady out of a spot and then had a slow pace to try to make up against Praying, was able to get the jump on her. I think Delightful Claire is the one in here. Again, I'm leaning on Jose Ortiz. I think it could be a huge day for him. We've got Irad gone, we've got Tyler gone, we've got Saez gone, and Jose's here. I think Delightful Claire draws very nicely on this outside spot and should be able to work out a very good trip with some inside speed. But I do think, in terms of prices, Mike, Sturgeon Moon, Will Walden's Instagram filly, looked fantastic winning at Audubon Oaks. Had a good setup, but she just finished the way that you want to see, just a fluid, open, energetic stride. That was her cutback effort there from going into Indiana Oaks before. If she can keep and even move forward from that effort, she's going to be a player. She'll get a piece for sure. And if you wanted to take a swing just at a price as opposed to the logical, Sturgeon Moon would be the one, I think.
What a job Will Walden has done with his stable and his business building that up, huh? Cool story.
Yeah, I've just got my first opportunity to talk to him on the backside last week or a couple weeks ago, and he seems like a very good guy, definitely a class act. And
it's like talking to his father, isn't it? There's some similarities there in their personalities.
I'm just kind of tipping in to realize that he had some good horses himself back in the day. I was reading that book, Three Strides Past the Wire by Elizabeth Mitchell, one of the best horse racing books I've ever read. And Elliot Walden kept on coming up and talking about the 99 Charismatics Derby Triple Crown Trail. So, I had no idea. But that's how it is with me sometimes, Mike. I'm a little bit clueless about some of the history of it. Always just been loving gambling on it. But I'm slowly but surely learning.
People have been telling me I'm clueless on this radio show for more than 20 years, so don't feel bad, Kev. Don't feel bad.
It's a good spot to be, you know. You got more to learn. That's what you want in life. That's
exactly. Clueless but curious. Number 7, Delightful Claire, your top pick in race number 9, the Dogwood, 3-1 on the morning line. The final leg of the TwinSpires triple play you have chosen is race 10, the much different 1 3/16 Bourbon Flight Stakes with a purse of $300,000. This one for the 3-year-old boys. How'd you see this one?
So, from what I understand, no Hypnus in here, and no Admiral Dennis.
Okay.
So that brings it down a little bit, changes it up a little bit. I mean, they're going to bet Chunk of Gold, deservedly so. I thought it was a very, very heads-up ride by Jareth Loveberry to beat East Avenue to the punch. Everybody's always had the sense that he doesn't love passing horses. You can get to the lead on him and get a commanding spot, and that's the spot to be. And he did it in the West Virginia Derby. Maybe he's able to get that same spot in here. There's not a lot of pace signed on. But I do think that this is where we trust Bill Mott with Excite. I loved his maiden breaking score here over our track. Just finished with so much energy, going a mile and an eighth. The next race, another sort of same excuse as Delightful Claire, stumbled out of the gates, but took some contact too, going against So Sandy, but So Sandy's stepping up and running in that Pennsylvania Derby. That Cherie DeVoe runner was very game that day, was able to repel Excite. I think nice work tab off of that June 28th effort, good spacing. This 3-year-old is going to love going a mile and 3/16. This is a half to I can't remember our friend's name that just ran with us at Colonial Downs, but here it is, Stimulate. Another one who I think is quite interesting. Excite for me in here. I think this is the one.
Good price, too. And if you're getting 5-1 on Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado, that tandem dangerous every time they show up. And Excite, good value there in race number 10. So, Kevin, let's recap. Race 7 at Churchill, you'll kick off the TwinSpires triple play with number 3, Jimmy's Dailies at odds of 7-2 on the morning line. Race 9, you'll go with number 7, Delightful Claire at 3-1. And in race 10, back to number 3. That's Excite at odds of 5-1. So 3-7-3, the numbers for Kevin in this week's triple play. Don't forget you can bet all of those races and every race you're going to play this weekend and every weekend with TwinSpires. Kevin, what's happening at TwinSpires this weekend?
Yeah, race 9, that grade 3 is a money back race, so you opt in for that opportunity and $10 back if your horse runs second or third, at least, or up to $10, I should say, up to $10. for your win bet. Your first win bet's the one that counts. Also race 5 on the card. You can take advantage of that opportunity. The tournament action is here. You got to take a look at all that. Cash games as well as opportunities to play for a Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge seed. Good stuff, with other tracks across the board. But the Churchill opportunity is that money back. And then on Sunday we do have that. We got the late pick 3 mics has been going great. It's a $3 base. They just changed that this meet. The pools have been fantastic. The payouts have been solid. And on Sundays with TwinSpires, you can opt in and have hit it and split it. You get it right, $3,000 goes between you and whoever else does. So that'll come on Sunday, and the money back comes on Saturday.
Kevin, good luck at the races this weekend, man. Let's go cash some tickets.
Let's do it, Mike. Thanks so much.
All right, Kevin Kilroy with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Coming up next, Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly Stroll Through Racing History. Again, that story, first of a 2-part story series about Mom's Command. And then I Ask, They Answer with Dale and Tim coming your way at 10:30 Eastern to wrap up the program. That should be a lot of fun, as always. Our trivia question, the impossible trivia question. If you haven't heard it, I'll unveil the answer at 10:55 Eastern for you in the final segment of the show. But the question is quite simple. How much did Secretariat's heart weigh? Think about that one for a minute. No Googling. And I'll have the answer for you toward the end of the program, shortly before 11 a.m. Eastern. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Get ready for a weekend packed with exciting giveaways and prizes at Delaware Park Casino. Join us Saturday, September 27th and Sunday, September 28th for Delaware Park's Del Cap Festival of Racing. Each day after the 9th race, a lucky fan will win 2 VIP Philly Experience tickets or 2 University of Delaware football tickets with free parking. Sunday, September 28th is Del Cap Hat Giveaway Day, while supplies last. All happening at Delaware Park Casino, where winning is always in play. Visit DelawarePark.com for more information. Lottery agent for Delaware Lottery. Must be 21 to play.
The September meet at Churchill Downs is off and running with live racing Wednesday through Sunday, now through September 28th. A total of 11 stakes will be contested across the September meet, featuring the $500,000 Lucas Classic, the $400,000 Locust Grove, and the kickoff to the Road to the Kentucky Derby and Oaks with the $300,000 Iroquois and $300,000 Pocahontas. The September meet will run Wednesday through Sunday. First post is 12:45 p.m. most days, with a special 5 p.m. first post each Thursday for Twilight Thursday. Horse players will have plenty of opportunities to score at the meet with a new $3 late pick 3 with a low 15% takeout rate. For more information about the September meet, visit ChurchillDowns.com and follow Churchill Downs on all social media platforms.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. A listener named Yvette contacted us recently with a recommendation. She told us that she knew of a filly with a fairy tale story, and after we researched the subject, we agreed. This is the story of Mom's Command, as well as her connections. Foaled on March 14, 1982 at Fox Hill Farm in Lexington, Kentucky, Mom's Command was a chestnut filly by Top Command out of Star Mommy by Pia Star. Her sire had been a Grade 1 winner at 1.5 miles on the turf, while her maternal grandsire was a stakes winner at 1.25 miles on dirt. A homebred owned by Peter Fuller, who operated a Boston Cadillac Oldsmobile agency, and himself a Harvard graduate and the son of a former governor of Massachusetts, Mom's Command was a big, feisty tomboy. She stood an imposing 16.2 hands, was long-faced and somewhat lop-eared, and was sassy, saucy, and had a lot of confidence. That description comes from Abigail Abby Fuller, daughter of the owner and the jockey who would ride Mom's Command in most of her starts. Abby had attended the Kentucky Derby at age 9 in 1968 and watched her father's homebred Dancer's Image cross the wire first in the Run for the Roses. But 3 days later, Dancer's Image was disqualified as the Derby winner because of a post-race test which indicated the presence of a prohibited painkiller. That situation was more difficult for my dad than for me, and I think that's understandable, said Abby. But I always figured the horse didn't know and didn't care, and he had a great life afterward. All I knew was I saw him finish first that day, and I wanted to be a jockey. Abby gained experience by spending 2 winters in Florida, helping put young horses through their early training. Being a Boston native, she would soon get race riding experience at Suffolk Downs, and she would even spend a meet in Hot Springs, Arkansas at Oaklawn Park. She also worked as a stable hand for Ned Allard, and he would be the man who would train Mom's Command. Allard, in his younger days, would have been an unlikely candidate to become a racehorse trainer. His father was a professor at Juilliard, and the family owned a summer home in New Hampshire, just down the road from Rockingham Park, and it was there that Ned became a fan of horse racing. As the elder Allard once put it, "I play the clarinet, my son plays the horses." And so we have the cast of characters for our story. A big stout filly named Mom's Command, her breeder owner, Peter Fuller, her jockey, Abby Fuller, and her trainer, Ned Allard. Mom's Command made her racing debut as a 2-year-old at Rockingham Park on July 17, 1984, and she immediately made headlines, rallying from 11th and last and prevailing in a 4-horse photo finish. She won the 5-furlong Faneuil Miss Stakes and paid $91 at the windows. Benny Carrasco had the winning ride that night, as Abby was serving a 5-day suspension for a riding infraction. But Abby was aboard for the filly's second start, which resulted in a win in the 6-furlong Priscilla Stakes at Suffolk Downs. Stepping up to the Grade 1 level, Mom's Command ran 4th at odds of 15-1 in the Spinaway at Saratoga. She returned to win the Grade 2 Astorita at 6.5 furlongs at Belmont Park, springing a $40 upset with Abby in the irons. But the next start would come in the Grade 1 Frisette at Belmont, where Mom's Command would have to stretch to a distance of 1 mile for the first time. A filly which liked to go to the front and set the pace, Mom's Command ran an opening half mile that day in 45 2/5 seconds before fading to finish 3rd. The plan was to head next to the Grade 1 Salima Stakes at Laurel Racecourse in Maryland. At least that was the plan for Mom's Command. For Abby Fuller, the plan was different. Her father told her that she had lost the mount on Mom's Command to Greg McCarran. Members of the press began circulating a story that Peter Fuller was disappointed because his daughter had not followed his instructions to rate Mom's Command and stop the pace in the Frisette. But Fuller himself later said that his main concern was the 1 1/16 distance in the Salima. Given that Mom's Command already had faded at a distance of 1 mile, he did not want a similar situation in the Salima, which might subject Abby to further criticism. Asked by the media what she thought of her dad's decision to take her off the horse, Abby found herself trying to maintain a delicate balance. How could she answer the question honestly without expressing displeasure with her father? As it happened, she gave a succinct reply which quickly put the matter to rest. She spoke only 2 words: "That's racing." Mom's Command won the Salima with Greg McCarran riding in a wire-to-wire $36 upset. The filly was now a Grade 1 winner, and the focus turned to the inaugural running of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies on November 10th at Hollywood Park. But Peter Fuller was reluctant to pay the $120,000 supplemental fee to make her eligible, and he did not like the idea of running his homebred filly back on 2 weeks' rest. Instead, Fuller decided to pay $30,000 to make Mom's Command eligible to the Grade 1 Hollywood Starlet on December 2nd, and he named Abby to ride. Shipping across the country to California and drawing the far outside post in a field of 16 horses, Mom's Command finished 5th at odds of 16-1 in the 1 1/16 race, won by eventual Eclipse champion Outstandingly. Lots of questions remained as the 1984 racing season drew to a close. Was Mom's Command better suited for distances of less than 1 mile? Was Abby truly the best choice as jockey? Had the win in the Salima simply been a fluke? Next week, part 2 of our story, as we look at Mom's Command and her 3-year-old campaign of 1985. We hope that you will join us then for the next edition of the Stroll Through Racing History presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Thanks, Kurt, for that story. If you missed it, go to our website to check out the podcast of every Stroll Through Racing History. And don't forget while you're there to check out our Trainer Talk presented by Fasig-Tipton and sign up for our email newsletters to stay up to date on the latest news and guests set to appear on our shows. Dale and Tim coming up next with I Ask, They Answer. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN. And once again, my thanks to Kurt and to Keeneland for making those segments possible each and every week. If you have missed any of Kurt's Stroll Through Racing History segments, all you have to do is head back over to our website, horseracingradio.net. You can check out the special podcast page dedicated to those stories and listen to every single one. There have been some amazing ones. Go back and listen at horseracingradio.net. When I come back, Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin, they will be here. It is this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Tenda Equine and Pet Care products have been keeping world-class equine athletes happy and healthy for generations. Keep your equine athlete looking and performing well with Tenda Next Generation Wound and Skin Care Treatment, along with nutritional supplements, leg and muscle care products, salves, hoof care, poultice, topical aids, and grooming products. Visit tendahorse.com today.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
And Spice Runner emerges from the pack and is now third and trying to find a way through, is waiting in behind Comport as they hit the top of the stretch. Comport is off the turn in front by 2. Spice Runner comes outside for a try, now second and targeting Comport with a furlong to go. Vost is coming down the center, nothing personal coming up the rail. Comport still in front though, wanders about. Spice Runner is green, still trying to get back on track and is getting on track now and it's coming after Comport. Here comes Spice Runner and Comport. Photo finish. Nose is on the wire. Spice Runner might have got the bob there, but it's tight. Comport farther back. Vost.
Travis Stone nailed again. It was Spice Runner getting up in the final strides to capture the Grade 3 Iroquois at Churchill Downs last Saturday. The race has been run at the home of the Kentucky Derby since 1982, but is yet to produce a winner of that race. What are the chances that changes in 2026? Plus, will the Cotillion or the Pennsylvania Derby have the bigger impact on their respective division this fall? And we'll tell you exactly what a horse goes through on a typical race day. All of that and much, much more is straight ahead on this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf writer Tim Wilkin, all presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program in the College of Business, and all starting just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
Dale and Tim are ready to roll. I'll try to keep this train on the tracks. Let's dive into topic number 1. Last Saturday, guys, the Steve Asmussen-trained Spice Runner ran down favorite Comport to win the Grade 3 Iroquois at Churchill Downs. Since its inception in 1982, no horse has come out of the Iroquois to win the Kentucky Derby. What are the chances that streak comes to an end next year? And why have horses coming from the Iroquois been unable to break through in the run for the Roses? Timmy, what do you think?
Well, I don't think the streak's going to end. We're looking at a race in September, right? go and race for 2-year-olds in September, and that's a race that tests the fast developing horses, and I just don't think that it's not necessarily the stamina that required for the Kentucky Derby. And historically, if you go back, and you've already done it because there's no horse that's won it. I think the best finish of a winner was a fourth by a horse named Damsel in '89. West Saratoga was 12th in the 2024 Derby. Looking at Lee, who was second in this race, was second in the Derby in 2017. It's just too early. It's just too early to be talking about a horse that's going to win the Kentucky Derby in September. I'm sorry, I don't know why people get so excited about these races. Maybe they don't, and getting Derby fever. Maybe the winners do, and that's their right, and they should because they get points. But I just don't see it as a race that's horses that aren't. Horses in September aren't horses that you're most likely going to see winning the Kentucky Derby.
Dale, if anybody is an expert on this topic, it should be you. You've won the Iroquois as much as any trainer in history. You're tied with 4 wins with Bill Mott and Steve Asmussen. Why is it that this race doesn't produce a winner of the Kentucky Derby?
I mean, it can someday. It did produce a horse that was second, and that horse that was second in that Iroquois came back with second in the Derby. But it like Jimmy said, it's just there's too many steps between September and May. That's a long time in a horse's life and a racing career. A lot of things can go wrong, and a lot of other horses emerge and come and go. It's just really early to start judging. I thought I was going to 1 year, but not this time. And I think we would have broken that streak if he'd have been able to make it to the Derby.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that question. Of your 4 winners, Claiborne in 2013, not this time in 2016. You had Dennis's Moment in 19, and then Sitting on Go in 2020. Not this time was the one that, of those 4, had the best chance to win the Derby the next year?
Not this time was a freak of nature. And, he got a little injury as a yearling that we were always dealing with his whole career, his whole life. And but, yeah, he was head and shoulders above the other horses you just named. All nice horses, but not this time breathe different air than the rest of them.
Is it simply a matter of, like Timmy said, these horses peaking at this point in their careers and not progressing forward at age 3?
That's probably a little bit to do with it, but it's also, they're in a small pool of horses that are running in stakes right now. By the time May comes around, that pool's a lot bigger. A lot more horses have started, a lot more horses have shown up in stakes, a lot more getting their careers on track. Early on in a 2-year-old's life, they just started running in May and we're in September, so the pool's pretty small. As that pool gets bigger every step, every month, by the time we get to May, you got a big pool of horses that have done a lot of things and accomplished a lot, and it's just difficult.
How hard is it to keep a horse together and also make sure they keep improving starting in September all the way to May? That's got to be a tough chore for a trainer.
You're walking a tightrope every day. There's a lot of decisions that are made between September and May, that the little things that people wouldn't even think about that determine whether or not the horse even gets there. If a horse runs in September and wins the Iroquois and makes the Kentucky Derby, somebody's done a lot of things right.
But, yeah. From your standpoint, you've been there. And obviously, you had some horses that you really liked. But were you thinking Derby after they crossed the wire first? I know you Derby.
I'm thinking Derby, they a bomb. And everybody is. I always say every horse is a Derby horse until they're not. And, you're starting to think, I'm on the trail anyway. First thing you got to do is get on the Derby trail if you're going to have a Derby horse, and you're on the trail, which is a major accomplishment. Just to have a horse on the Derby trail and talked about and get points is an accomplishment.
Yeah, and let me point this out, guys. Just because the Iroquois hasn't produced a Kentucky Derby winner yet doesn't mean that the horses that come out of the Iroquois don't do well later in their careers or in other races. You had horses like Harlan's Holiday, a winner of the Iroquois. Champ Ali, the Cliff's Edge. He was a Kentucky Derby favorite. He won the Iroquois in his 2-year-old season. Tis Wonderful, Court Vision, Astrology, just to name a few. Those horses all did really good things, just not in the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, it's all about timing.
Can I throw this out there? Let's say you, and people might say I'm crazy, but let's say you didn't have points races for 2-year-olds, and you took those points and you added them to some of the races for the 3-year-olds. Increase the points in some of those races. Would that be a good idea?
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people say you're crazy. It wouldn't make it. What's the difference if you had points on you're going to pick one specific race and give it more points? The system's in place where you basically have your 10-pointers, your 50-pointers, and your 100-pointers rounds, and
20-pointers,
kind of 20-pointers. That kind of makes it equal. I mean, no, it wouldn't change anything.
We're going to talk more about the Derby point system here in just a little bit when we get to Right or Wrong. James in Maryland submitted a question about the point system playing off of our discussion from last week's show. So we'll get to that in a minute. A little bit of a different take on what might work going forward, and I'll get your thoughts on that. But, guys, let's move on to the next topic, and that involves the big racing at Parks later today. You have the Grade 1 Cotillion, the Grade 1 Pennsylvania Derby. Which of those Grade 1 races for 3-year-olds provides the most intriguing matchup this afternoon? And, Timmy, I know you're on site at Park, so I'm going to come to you first. Is it the Cotillion with Good Cheer, Cara, and Scottish Lassie squaring off, or the Pennsylvania Derby with Baeza, Gosger, and Magnitude? What do you think? More intriguing.
Well, I think if you're looking at the overall picture for the 3-year-old fillies and then also the 3-year-old colts, I think there's no question that the Cotillion is the race that's going to carry more weight as you move forward. I mean, you have Scottish Lassie and Cara and Good Cheer, all Grade 1 winners. And a horse that wins the Cotillion is going to definitely vault up into the standings of top 3-year-old filly. I mean, you look at Cara for Mark Cassie, it's already won 2 Grade 1. If she were to add a third this year, I mean, she's got to be knocking on the door or inside the door of the top 3-year-old fillies. Nitrogen, who's not running here, is also from the Cassie barn, is one that has to be really considered as one of the top 3-year-olds. And Good Cheer was, we know her story. She was undefeated before she ended up going to Saratoga and after 7-race win streak ended. And she's got to be considered one. I mean, she's won the she's won the biggest race of any for the 3-year-old fillies at Kentucky Oaks. And Scottish Lassie with the Coaching Club American Oaks win. If she were to win this, that's another one in her belt. So I think there's definitely more on the line in the Cotillion. If you look at the 3-year-old colts, I mean, that's pretty much a done deal. Sovereignty is going to be the top 3-year-old colt. There's no question about that. I mean, the 3-year-old colts that are signed up to run in the Pennsylvania Derby, but the Baezas of the world and Gosger, none of the horses in the PA Derby have won a Grade 1. So if Baeza were to win this race, he's the favorite. That would be his second win, and he's also been competitive against the Sovereignties and Journalisms of the world. I mean, does that make him a player in the top 3-year-old? I don't think so. And the likes of the others, the goal oriented from Bob Baffert and Gosger, both have been competitive in the Grade 1s but haven't won. So I think without question, the Cotillion carries more weight heading towards divisional honors without question.
Will that also be the race that has the bigger impact on that division? It sounds like it will be, right, Tim?
The Cotillion?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like you say, the 3-year-old males that's pretty much already decided with Sovereignty being the champ. I don't think anybody's going to vote against Sovereignty for champion 3-year-old male.
No, if you did, you'd have to take your voting privileges away.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Dale, which of those two races is more intriguing to you?
I think they're both intriguing races, and anybody that's paying attention to horse racing and handicapping and likes horse racing should be watching Pennsylvania on Saturday. They put a good card together, two great races, but you're right, the fillies could determine the champion. The other races, it's interesting though. It's like the next level horses. You knocked off the top two, and it's going to be fun to watch and see who's going to be coming on late in the year. And Sunday, you won't be able to say none of them have won a Grade 1 race. Somebody's going to win one.
And it's a competitive field. And it's a very good betting race. And I've talked to John Sheriffs all week, and he's still adamant that he has what he believes one of the best 3-year-olds in the country in Baeza. And now he's got a chance to prove it. I mean, he's if he wins this race, you don't give him any chance to win champion 3-year-old. But what happens if Baeza wins the Pennsylvania Derby and goes on to win the Breeders' Cup Classic? What happens there?
He runs a good second.
To sovereignty, absolutely.
Yes.
But, I think that ship has sailed for 3-year-old champion, for sure.
Yeah.
And nobody's arguing with John. He's got one of the best. It's one of the best. It's just not the best.
Right.
Well, I can tell you this, the connections of all of those horses in the Pennsylvania Derby are smiling ear to ear when they open up the racing forum and they look and see no sovereignty, no journalism in that spot this afternoon because they can't get past those two horses. Maybe today, as Dale said, is the day that, well, it's going to be the day that one of those horses adds a Grade 1 to their resume, and that's a special deal. Okay. Time now to segue into our next segment, which is right or wrong. And the question this week comes from James in Maryland. And we say hello to our good friend Nick Zito. And Dale and Tim get to tell me if the following statement is right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
All right, as I mentioned earlier, guys, James has a follow-up to our conversation from last week's show regarding the current Kentucky Derby point system. And he says the switch to the point system from the former graded stakes earnings model has fixed the problem of true sprinters getting into the Derby, but it's also to the detriment of a filly being able to qualify unless she runs against the Colts in one of the designated points races for males. James asks if those issues would all be solved by going back to the greatest stakes earnings, but only earnings from races at 1 1/16 or further. Is he right or wrong?
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Dale, what do you think? What do you think of his idea, right or wrong?
That's wrong. I mean, too many places the purse structures have gotten so complicated around the country. I don't think I never wasn't a proponent of the point system because I like prepping my horses on grass. Would you take that away too? I ran two of my horses ran two of my best derbies, both of them being third, came off grass races early in their 3-year-old year. But I don't like the fact that fillies aren't in the conversation. Whether they run or not, I always like hearing the talking. Will Rachel run? Will she won't? Will she be against the boys? But I guess they just have to do like Wayne Collis did and step up and win the Santa Anita Derby or something to get in.
What if you were to give an exemption to the filly that's the top points earner on the filly side of things? If she gets the most points facing fillies, she has the option to run in the Kentucky Derby if she would like to.
Oh, then you knock somebody out that's been butting heads with the boys the whole time. I don't know. I mean, do you give it to some points to an Ohio bred race because it's the best Ohio bred? It's just not a good fix for the filly division other than the fact they can run against the boys earlier.
Timmy?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Dale on that. I mean, if you were to make an exemption and you say, okay, you're the horse that got the most points in the Kentucky Oaks, well, if you have the option to run in the Kentucky Derby, you didn't run against the males to earn those points, and then you're bumping one that did. I just think that wouldn't be fair to the connections that, had a plan to point their colt to the Kentucky Derby by, the prep races. I just don't think that's fair. If you have a filly that really wants to get into the Kentucky Derby, you take your shot at one of those 100-point races, and if you win, then you're in. So I just think that's the way to go that way. I just don't know that I think you open a whole can of worms if you start making exemptions for different horses. I just don't think that's the right way to do it.
Dale, why does the greatest stakes earnings model not work in this current day and age?
Well, there's bigger purses and bigger races. That I think that it wouldn't be the same. I think different states and different tracks are putting together bigger purses at one place than another. And at the end of the day, it might work, but the system, I've gotten used to the point system. It keeps people talking and interested, and it's worked, and it has taken out the cheap speed out of the race. And since the point system, the favorites are running better. So something's working.
Yeah. Well, James, we appreciate that. If you have a question or a topic you want Dale and Tim to debate or answer for you here on the program, you know what to do. Submit it to us via email, mike@horseracingradio.net, or post it on our social media pages. We will work it in for you. 2 more topics before our Showdown 4 update and our final point of the week. And this next topic comes from Rick in Sacramento, California. Guys, Rick's question is kind of 2 parts, and Dale, I'm going to come to you on this one. First, he wants to know, what is the effect on horses when a track plays so fast, resulting in a horse running quicker than their usual time simply because of the track playing faster? What's the effect on a horse coming out of races like that?
Well, that's a good question. A deep, heavy racetrack can be harder on a horse than a fast track. If it's a fast track that they're just bouncing over and it's not like rock hard, it's just got a good bounce to it, then I think it's probably easier on them to run over that kind of racetrack than it is a deep, tiring racetrack. And but there's pros and cons to every type of racetrack. And what I always say about horses is because we'll never have the perfect track, because there will never be one track that fits every horse. So some horses that it's easier on, they like it more and they bounce right out of the race. Other horses, it may be more taxing on. But I think that a deep, heavy racetrack is more taxing on a horse than anything.
I like the second part of his question here. What does a day in the life of a racehorse look like on race day? Do they still go through the morning trainings? Are they fed differently? What happens between the morning and then the time that they're led over to the race? How does all that – what does it look like, Dale?
Well, it's different, but for different trainers. So like some trainers will train a horse just a little bit on race day. They'll tack them up early and take them to the racetrack. And I'll do a few horses that way, just depending on the horse. Most of mine walk on race day, and then after they walk, we might feed them a little bit earlier. And some of them, if they're a big, heavy horse and they want to eat a lot, we'll take their hay down from them so they don't have hay to eat, so that they don't have much in their belly. If there's a thin horse that I think needs to keep eating, we leave the hay rack up until they come out. And then they, but they'll get out, get a bath, walk, do all that kind of stuff, get fed a little bit earlier. And then the grooms will come back in the afternoon. Usually we put some ice boots on them. They'll have some ice on for 45 minutes, an hour, or something like that. Sometimes they'll stand in a foot tub with ice for their feet and get them all cleaned up and walk them over. The preparation goes in earlier, though. A lot of people don't know about it. I think we've talked about it a couple of times. Is like the day before, I'll school them in the paddock. We'll take them over to the races the day before and walk them around in the paddock, get them relaxed so they're not always thinking race when they're in there. And then either the day before, 2 days before, I'll take them actually to the starting gate, and we'll just stand in the starting gate for a few minutes and then back them out and gallop them on around. But race day is pretty simple. Plus, then there's an examining veterinarian that works for the state that will come around and examine the horse, and you have to take them out in the shed row and let them watch them jog up and down the shed row, and they'll check their legs for heat and flex their ankles and knees to make sure that that there's not a problem they see going into a race. Other than that, that's about it.
Do certain horses handle all of those distractions better than others, Dale?
Yeah, I think so. I think that certain horses all handle things differently, depending. A lot of them, they get to bucking and kicking when you go to jog them up and down in the shed row or take them out on the road to jog them, and some of them just do it and go right back in. But some of them I think know the routine of racing. Like if we don't take them to the racetrack that morning, there's a chance they're going to run. I think they actually know it.
Have you ever had a horse that you take out in the morning, the day of a race, ever?
Yeah, I've had a lot of them that I've taken. I think like Bill Mott takes every horse, I believe, and just does a little light gallop. And it used to be in the old days, almost every trainer did. I grew up not doing it and just giving them a walk day. But there's been a lot of horses that I think I need to maybe just take the edge off, so I'll go out and jog them a mile or something.
So that's not going to be something that's going to tire a horse out.
No, they're fine. They can handle that. A little easy gallop, a little shorter gallop. Doesn't bother them at all.
You ever blow one out the morning on race day?
I never have, but I've seen it done. And I think Rick Dutcher used to do that with Big Brown. He'd work in an eighth of a mile and get him pulled up really quick. I always was afraid he couldn't pull him up, and they'd go 3/4 of a mile.
What would the point of doing something like that be, Dale?
I don't know. The science behind it is that they get their red blood cells pumping and gets them a little bit more oxygenated. But I don't know if it's working enough. But there's a lot of them. Alan Jerkins used to do it a lot, but he said he quit doing it when he could. He would be out there on his pony, and he would take them from like the eighth pole to the wire, and he would have his pony there to make sure they got stopped right away. But Alan used to tell me, like, he would say he would work a horse, and he noticed when he was young, he would come back in the afternoon at feed time, and usually that horse he worked would be jumping around, hollering for his feed, and really feeling good. And that's what made him start doing it. He said he noticed that they all, for some reason, felt really good in the afternoon after a little breeze.
Interesting. Rick in Sacramento, appreciate the question. All right, one more topic, then our Showdown 4 update and our final point of the week. And, guys, this final topic, we're going to have a little fun. This is specifically for Lisa Lazarus at HISA because she hates when we do food questions here on the program. So all three of these are food-related, and they all are tying into a national day, which is occurring here on September 20th. Today, guys, is National Fried Rice Day. Are you buying or selling fried rice? Tim Wilkin, you're the one with the sensitive palate and a lot of food rules. What do you think?
I'm selling this one. I'll take brown rice maybe, but I don't want no fried rice.
Dale.
I'm not supposed to answer these questions. Lisa might be mad at me. I haven't talked to her in a month, so I don't know, but we might make her more mad. I'll eat rice any way you make it. I love a dish of rice.
Yeah, give me pork fried rice any day of the week. Okay, today is also National Pepperoni Pizza Day. Tim, are you buying or selling pepperoni pizza?
Selling it too. Put sausage on my pizza. Sausage.
What?
I don't want no pepperoni. It's too greasy. Put the sausage on. I know that's greasy too, but it doesn't look as greasy as the pepperoni.
No such thing as a bad slice of pizza.
Well, there is. If you put pineapple on it, it's bad.
No, it's not. That's not too bad either. I've never had a bad piece of pizza.
You prefer a red sauce or a white sauce, like an olive oil sauce?
I prefer a red sauce, but why didn't I get a little cha-ching? Was Lee taking a nap?
You got two of them.
It'd be a little boring, but stay awake.
All right, one more for you. Today is National String Cheese Day. I know I'm really grasping for straws here with this last one, but Tim, are you buying or selling string cheese?
String cheese, isn't that what like 3 or 4 year olds eat? And it's not. It's like it just doesn't look right. String cheese. If I'm gonna cheese, give me some block cheese that I can cut up and put it on a cracker or something. String cheese just seems to me like it's like eating seaweed.
I agree with Lisa. I'm done answering questions about food. Let's go to the points. Who's winning the points in our game?
Dale, I think you know.
If you didn't know.
I think you know the answer to this question. Dale Romans continues to dominate the Showdown 4 competition. He's ahead 64-44 over Tim Wilkin. I'm in last place with 41. But, Timmy, you can cut into his lead today. You have good cheer in the Cotillion, Baeza in the Pennsylvania Derby.
I could conceivably tie Mr. Romans today. Both of those horses have big, big chances.
Well,
so they'll beware. I'm coming.
Give you time to enjoy it because it will be short-lived.
I don't understand why you think that. My roster is pretty strong.
Okay.
Mine is terrible, so I have no chance. I really don't have a dog in this fight. I think it's a 2-horse race. And, Tim, I hope you do win both of those races, and we're talking about a 64-64 tie next Saturday morning here on the program. But we're down to the final minute and a half or 2 minutes, so it's time for our final point of the week. Timmy, why don't you kick it off for us? What do you got?
Well, I've been down here in beautiful Bensalem, Pennsylvania for the week working for the notes team at Parks Racing with Tom Law and Anthony Affronte and Paul Halloran. And we've been just crushing it with all the information we've been sending out. I love coming down here. The people are great. This is their World Series of horse racing this weekend. It's when the one day of the year when really the whole world of horse racing is putting their eyeballs on Parks. And then, and good for them. They always put on a good show. It's going to be great weather today. So, I just applaud the job that they do down here. I'm glad I'm a part of it.
Tim obviously hadn't gotten his check yet.
You're right.
Yeah, I want to tell you, something happened special today for me. I just sat down and watched a 30-minute clip of the documentary about Wayne Lucas that the Hennigan brothers are putting together. And John said I was the first one to ever see it. It's something special coming together here, and racehorse fans or non-racehorse fans should have something to really look forward to when this thing's done. It's going to be a multi-series documentary, and they followed Wayne for 3 years. And if the rest of it's as good as the half hour I watched today, it's something special.
Well, looking forward to that.
Great stuff. Nobody better than the Hennigan brothers when it comes to putting those things together either. Fantastic. Dale, Tim, we're going to do it all over again next weekend. Dale, keep it rolling with your horses this weekend. Timmy, enjoy the Pennsylvania Derby and the Cotillion.
Will do.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
If you have a topic you want to hear Dale and Tim discuss, email it to me, Mike@horseracingradio.net. We'll get it worked into the program for you. I Ask They Answer is presented by the University of Louisville, Equine Industry Program in the College of Business. I'm back with more in the answer to this week's impossible trivia question next. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Did you know? VA home loans are a key to home ownership for those who served.
I would tell anybody who is interested in getting a VA loan to just do it.
For me, the best thing about the VA loan was the simplicity of it. I was expecting, government paperwork, it was going to go on forever, and it just wasn't.
Since the down payment for a VA loan is minimal, we were able to purchase this home and then use the money that we were going to use as a down to actually fix up the home.
And the only way we could do that was because the nest egg that we had saved for the down payment, we didn't have to use because we went the VA route.
This is a wonderful benefit that veterans can take advantage of.
In the military, we make a lot of sacrifices. We're away from our family a lot. And with the VA loan, it's a way that it makes it easier for us to get a home.
To learn more about VA home loans, visit va.gov/home loans.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that we can give our daughters everything they need to grow and learn. But not every child can focus on classes and play dates.
Nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. face hunger. That's 1 in 6. School lunch might be their only meal each day, and it's heartbreaking to imagine any child going to bed hungry. We're dreaming of a perfect day when kids can smile, play, and just be kids without worrying about where their next meal will come from. Feeding America is working to make that perfect day a reality.
Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. That food is given to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about doing things that make an ordinary day extraordinary. Learning to play an instrument, building a sandcastle, hosting tea parties. Hunger should never be an obstacle to growing up.
You can help end childhood hunger in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Check out the all-new HorseRacingRadio.net. All the same great horse racing radio content in a new, easy-to-use design. Listen to all of our shows streaming live or access the replays anytime. See our schedule, sign up for our newsletter, download our latest podcasts, and so much more. It's all on our website at HorseRacingRadio.net. That's HorseRacingRadio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Be sure to stay ahead of the field with the Blood Horse Daily. It is your free all-access pass to the latest in thoroughbred racing and breeding, delivered straight to your inbox every evening. It is packed with breaking news, race analysis, results, and much, much more. Don't miss any fast-paced racing news. Sign up today at bloodhorse.com/daily. That's bloodhorse.com/daily and get your daily edge in racing all for free. Our producer, Lee Delapina, has the answer to this week's impossible trivia question. Lee, what is it?
Thank you, Mike. How much did Secretariat's heart weigh? A whopping 22 pounds, the size of a Thanksgiving turkey, and 158% larger than the average thoroughbred's heart.
22 pounds. Unbelievable. Yeah, there's a reason Big Red was so unstoppable throughout his racing career. Pretty impressive stuff. We're back next week with another impossible trivia question here on the Equine Forum. But, boy, what a ride it's been over the course of the past 3 hours, huh? I've enjoyed every minute of having you with me on the show this morning, as I do every single week. I want to thank all of our guests for making this program possible, including Jockey Dylan Davis, that really entertaining interview that we brought your way in hour number 1. You heard from Kevin Kilroy with the TwinSpires Triple Play, Kurt Becker with his Stroll Through Racing History, Dale and Tim in the previous segment. If you missed any portion of the show, head back to the website, check out the podcast. You can do that too on every podcast platform. My thanks to my producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studio, and to Chauncey for handling all of our social media. I'm Mike Penna. Thanks to each of you for tuning in here this morning. And let's see. Go Steelers.